The President. Members' motion with no legislative effect. Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion on establishing a top-level dedicated structure to devise a population policy. Two members will move amendments to the motion. This council will proceed to a joint debate on the motion and the amendments. Later, I will first call upon Dr. Lo Wai-kwok to speak and move the motion. Then I will call upon Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie Lam to speak in sequence, but they may not move the amendments at this stage. The joint debate now begins. Member who wish to speak, please press the request to speak button. I now call upon Dr. Lo Wai-kwok to speak and move the motion. President, I move that the motion as printed on the agenda be passed. We ask the government to face up to the demographic changes in Hong Kong and to formulate a top-level dedicated structure to devise a population policy so that our economy and society continue to develop. President, Hong Kong is going from stability to prosperity. However, we are faced with significant demographic challenges. We have low birth rate, we have an aging population, labor force participation rate is declining. If we don't solve these structural issues effectively, people in different industries and of different occupational hierarchy will face serious manpower shortage. Our competitiveness and our productivity will be hampered as a result. According to the latest manpower projection of the government, as at 2028, our manpower shortage is as high as 180,000 people. This is very worrisome. At different levels of occupational hierarchy, from top talents, professionals, to middle management, to frontline officers, they are faced with manpower shortage. Take construction industry as an example. As at 2028, we have a manpower shortage of 45,000 to 50,000. As for international INT centers, as positioned in the 8 centers, we are going to face a manpower shortage of 23,000. workers. I am a member of a subcommittee on the relevant topic in the LEUNG. I said in the meetings to the administration that what we are lacking is not just top talents with $2.5 million of salary per year. We also need frontline officers and positions for university graduates. With such a shortage, how can we promote new industrialization and develop Northern Metropolis? How can we attract top-notch industries and enterprises to come establish a presence here? President, since 2015, the government has promulgated a strategy and report on population policy. In the interim, we're faced with COVID and social unrest, and we also see movements of population. Our demand is very much different these days. I think that we should formulate a forward-looking population policy and roll out concrete measures. I think that the government should establish a dedicated top-level structure to devise a population policy and accord priority to such a subject. We should formulate short, mid to long-term strategies. We should conduct another review on population, and we should establish a population pool, dynamically track our population so that we can plan ahead of time. And this dedicated structure should be one that breaks up silos among different departments. Say, for example, we should ask Development Bureau to take into account the population when they plan for land uses. President, in order to face up to the demographic challenges, we should not rely on policies. and we should not adopt this band-aid approach. I think that the government should adopt a multi-pronged approach. Over the short run, the government should continue to improve the labor importation schemes to plug loopholes and meet manpower shortage. The government has rolled out several schemes, including labor supplementary labor importation schemes, the industry-specific labor importation scheme. In 2028, we're going to be short of 55,000 people in the construction sectors. However, we only have 12,000 quotas. I think that the government should review and expand the relevant quotas under the labor importation scheme and streamline the approval procedures to meet short-term shortage. I think also the government should refine the training and retraining programs to enhance labor participation rate. We have to unleash the potential of women and elderly. The government should provide flexi working hours and offer childcare services so that more people can join the labor force. We should improve the middle age reemployment scheme, and the government should also offer flexi retirement age arrangements so that civil servants aged at 65 can have their contracts renewed so that they can fulfill their potentials. I think also the government should dovetail with the development of aid centers. This is the position accorded to us by our country. We are international financial centers, a East meets West center, international trade center, aviation hub, logistics center. We are the dispute resolution and mediation center, as well as an IP trading center. These are the directions that we should head towards. I think that the government should have regards to the latest population projection and work with the Human Resources Commission to devise strategies. We should plan our courses in university and accordingly. We should establish talent pools covering top, mid to low tier workers. We should expand the applicability of CEF to cover AI and new technologies alike. Over the long run, I think that the government should refine the policies encouraging childbearing to ensure sustainability of our population. The government recently rolled out the newborn baby bonus scheme, but I don't think that's incentivizing enough. I think that the government should instead also offer childcare leave, childcare subsidy, and create a child-friendly environment. Also, I think that the government should expand the number of economic trade offices and work with Hong Kong talent engage to attract foreign students to come to Hong Kong, and also we should encourage Hong Kong students overseas to come back and work. We should not cope with our challenges with fragmented policies. The government must, as soon as possible, establish a top-level dedicated structure to devise a population policy. We should formulate a comprehensive, scientific, and forward-looking population blueprint. We should enhance coordination among different departments and bureaus. We should also work with various sectors in the business sector and the people so that we can attract more talents. President, later on, I'm going to speak on Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie LEUNG's amendments. I so submit. I hope that members will support my motion.
And now I propose the question to you that Dr. LO Wai-kwok's motion be passed. Mr. Kenneth LEUNG. Thank you, President. I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for moving his motion today. This allows us to have a discussion about population policy at LEUNG. Starting from last year, we set up a number of subcommittees. One of them was on population policies. We have discussed more than a dozen topics. When I was chairing the meetings, I noticed something. We had members from different backgrounds. Everyone agreed on the need for a top-level cross-departmental structure to deal with population issues. But the official's reply said that we already have the Human Resources Planning Commission chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration, so any extra structure would be unnecessary. It's not right to equate population policy with human resources policy. Population policy should be elevated to a strategic level. This area deserves greater attention. That's how we can achieve sustainable socioeconomic development. Population policy is more than just about individual well-being. It's a global issue. It's about national fortunes. The UN pointed this out in a report. There are 63 countries in the world, including China, facing a population contraction. In face of that, our country has attached importance to the problem. Our country takes a holistic and strategic approach to the matter. Population security has been made part of national security. General Secretary Xi Jinping also delivered key speeches on population. He proposed high-quality population development to support Chinese modernization. So population policy is not just about human resources and labor. Population policy has to do with socioeconomic development. So we need a top-level dedicated structure. We also need high-level thinking. Another focus of my amendment is how we plan for population development with this top-level structure. Here are a few things we should look at. We should consider population policy as part of other issues in Hong Kong, so that when you launch a policy, you have an aspect dedicated to population. Let's look at the budget this year. You look at social welfare, healthcare, and education. Everything has to do with population. So we should adjust our economic development with population in mind. With an aging population, so we should promote the silver economy. Bringing in outside talent is more than just about granting visas. Those people come here, they need education, they need housing. We should keep the talent, we turn them into Hong Kong residents. That's what we mean by success. Discontinuity in population policy is also a matter. In 2003, there was a report released by a subcommittee on population. That subcommittee recommended resources for population policy and also releasing reports. And then 2007, we set up a steering committee on population policy. Up to 2012, reports were launched at intervals. And then in 2015, the population policy strategies and initiatives came out, and then nothing came afterwards. We should institutionalize such research, and we have to keep up with the changing times. We need a goal for our population, a quantitative goal, so that we can plan our public services accordingly. Let's look at Shenzhen. Back in 2021, Shenzhen announced such a policy. Their goal is to have 19 million resident population by 2039, and then they plan their administrative municipal services accordingly. Let's learn from Shenzhen. We set a target population, and then we plan around that target. Population policy involves many areas. It looks complicated. But population policy is our commitment to our future generations. So we should come up with a population strategy. I hope members can support my amendment. Ms. Nixie. Thank you, President. I speak in support of Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion. I also move an amendment. President Xi Jinping proposed high-quality population development as a way to support Chinese modernization. Aging population and sub-replacement, sub-fertility rate are a major challenge, and we need systems thinking. We need a systematic approach to population change. That article penned by President Xi is inspiring for us. Our total fertility rate is 0.841, and that's way below the replacement fertility level of 2.1. With an aging population and a shrinking birth rate, 50,000 people die every year, but there are only 30,000 live births each year. Community-level research has been sounding the alarm bells for us all the time, but we have turned a blind eye to that. A think tank found out that only 36% of young people plan to marry, and Women's Body found that 70% of people never thought about having children. 36% of young people did not consider finding a job, and then around a third of young people thought supporting their parents had nothing to do with them. 30 years from now, what will happen? Will our social welfare structure be able to cope with the social reality at that point? Shrinking workforce, increasing dependency ratio. What do we do in Hong Kong? Look at our city planning structure. That has to do with our population. Schools, hospitals, resources, how many do we need? Failure to come up with a projection of how many people there will be, how many live births there will be, how many incoming talent there will be. Without all the information, how can we cope with the challenges and opportunities from population change? Look at our human resources planning. We simply do that, we cannot cope with future development. We have to keep up with our country in population. The National Reform and Development Commission has done much research on young people, young youth development, urban development. They looked into many issues and in population-related areas. Population planning is crucial to a city's development. Fragmented policies, crossing the bridge when you come to it, that's no way to grapple with the problem. We need a top-level structure to coordinate our population policy so that we can seize the initiative and plan for our future. Last year, I moved a motion on pro-natalist policy. The day before, the South Korean government launched a new measure. It's 1 million won in baby bonuses, legislation for flexible hours, and a tag for pregnant women, for people to tell they just saw a pregnant woman and that people should accommodate her needs, etc. So in South Korea, they realized the strategic importance of investing in population. So for us, an SAR of China, we should have the same strategic mindset. We should stop seeing family benefits, welfare as welfare. We should see that as an investment instead. Our country launched a package of policies. Those measures were now made part of the healthcare insurance system at many provincial level bodies. So for us, we should look at our life sciences, find new growth areas. People marry late in Hong Kong, and there's a declining quality of sperms and eggs. It's a fact. Assisted reproduction can make a difference. It can bring hope to families. So we should relax our restrictions. Let's look into relaxing the cap of 10 years in egg storage. And that's how we can face up to the population problem. We should also explore ways to unleash the potential of assisted reproductive medicine, so that we can turn life science into a key part of our science and research. Everything has to do with everything else in population policy. Apart from encouraging childbearing, we need other support policies: silver economy, manpower, education, housing, everything else. Without an interdepartmental structure, you can get nothing done. We got a deputy chief secretary for littering problems. So when it comes to population problem, we need a high-level structure, clear goals, and foresight in what we do.
Secretary for Labor and Welfare. President, I would like to thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for proposing the motion and Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie for proposing amendments so that we can draw on collective wisdom and work together to meet the challenges ahead. The lengthening of life expectancy and persistently low fertility rate, coupled with the fact that the baby boomers are approaching retirement age, Hong Kong's population continues to age and the pace is accelerating. The population of Hong Kong stood at 7.53 million at the end of 2024. According to the latest projections, the population will reach 8.19 million in mid-2046. Elderly persons aged 65 and above, excluding foreign domestic helpers, will account for 36% of the population then, and the labor force participation rate will drop progressively from about 55% in 2024 to about 52% in 2046. According to the manpower projections published by the LWB in November 2024, the manpower shortage in 2028 will reach 180,000, with skilled workers in particular accounting for more than one-third of the overall shortage. In order to meet the challenges brought about by demographic changes and continue to support the development of the 8 centers positioning and promote the long-term development of Hong Kong, the government needs to make comprehensive plans in different policy areas, including economic development, education and training, housing supply, labor and welfare, healthcare, and childcare support. The relevant policy bureaus will perform their respective roles, review from time to time the implementation and effectiveness of the measures under their purview, and make timely adjustments to the measures in the light of the factors to cope with the aforesaid challenges. The government has, in the light of demographic changes and social circumstances, adjusted relevant policies and measures or introduced new measures in education, cross-boundary aging, elderly care services, etc. The government has also implemented a series of measures to encourage childbirth since 2023 to create a favorable environment for childbearing. The measures include strengthening childcare support, increasing the amount of working family allowance, and promoting family-friendly employment practices. In addition, in view of the pressing challenge of manpower shortage in various sectors, the current term government has put forward decisive measures in manpower planning to proactively recruit talents and strengthen the local talent pool. Starting from the end of 2022, the government introduced and has continuously enhanced various talent admission measures to attract and facilitate talents from around the world to come to Hong Kong. The government is also committed to nurturing local talents and has invested heavily in training and retraining to enhance the quality and productivity of the local labor force. At the same time, the government encourages and assists citizens in entering or re-entering the job market through employment support services so as to release the potential labor force. Population policy involves a wide range of policy areas in which a number of policy bureaus are involved. Apart from the Standing Committee, the chief executive and senior government officials provide high-level steer and coordinate the relevant interdepartmental work through various channels, such as working groups and interdepartmental meetings as necessary. The Human Resources Planning Commission, HRPC, chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration, is currently tasked to consolidate the resources and strengths of the government and various sectors to examine, review, and coordinate macro-level manpower policies and initiatives to promote further development of a high value-added and diversified economy in Hong Kong. The HRPC is a high-level policy platform with ex-officio members comprising the 8 secretaries, the government economists, and the Commissioner for Census and Statistics, as well as the chairman of 3 major training and qualification-related organizations. The non-official members comprise experts and stakeholders from different industries and sectors. Since its establishment in 2018, the HRPC has explored a number of issues to address the demographic challenges. The work of a number of bureaus and departments is closely related to the 8 centers positioning. In-depth discussions between their representatives and the non-official members of the HRPC on various issues have facilitated the government in formulating relevant policies and measures. At present, the senior government officials each have their roles and responsibilities and are leading and coordinating the relevant work through different platforms, including committees, working groups, and interdepartmental meetings to lead formulation of measures to meet the various challenges brought about by demographic changes. At present, population policy initiatives have been integrated into the work of various policy bureaus. The government's existing mechanism for steering and coordinating interdepartmental efforts is flexible and effective. There is no need to set up a separate dedicated body for population policy work. As pointed out in the motion, the direction of economic development and the planning of public services need to be appropriately adjusted with reference to demographic changes. I will listen carefully to members' views and then respond to them in my closing remarks later. Thank you, President.
Undersecretary for Health. President, I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for moving the motion, Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie for moving the amendments. Population policy involves interdepartmental collaboration. The Health Bureau will work closely with the government in adjusting the healthcare policy to meet the challenges brought about by demographic changes. On healthcare service planning, we will make corresponding adjustment to healthcare services, infrastructure, and manpower deployment based on population projections to ensure that the healthcare system can continue to meet the needs of social development. The planning of public healthcare services in Hong Kong is based on clusters. The Hospital Authority regularly reviews the service configuration of the clusters and adjusts the delineation and layout of them by taking into account factors such as the increasing demand arising from population growth and demographic changes, as well as the trend of chronic illnesses, etc., and plans for the future development of hospitals, having regard to the territorial and regional planning and development strategies. And in the light of the changes in the projected population and the direction of the population policy. On healthcare manpower, the government has continued to strengthen training. The number of UGC-funded and self-financed healthcare professional training places has increased substantially from about 4,000 in the 2017-18 academic year to about 6,000 in 2023-24. The government has also introduced non-local training for healthcare professionals through new channels and supported local universities in planning for the establishment of the third medical school to meet future needs. In addition, we will focus on enhancing healthcare services for the elderly. At the primary care level, the government has introduced a series of measures to address the needs of the elderly. 1. We will integrate the elderly health services under the DH into district health networks to strengthen chronic disease management and community rehabilitation support. 2. We are going to expand the Elderly Healthcare Voucher Greater Bay Area pilot scheme so that eligible elderly persons may use healthcare vouchers at 21 service points in the Greater Bay Area on the mainland within this year. And 3. We will actively encourage the elderly to receive vaccinations by providing free and subsidized vaccines to eligible elders through various vaccination programs. On supporting fertility, apart from adjusting our medical services to cope with the demographic changes and the declining fertility rate, we will actively complement the government's policy of encouraging childbirth to promote the long-term balanced development of the population. In different phases, we have been providing new pre-pregnancy healthcare services for women of childbearing age, and we have adjusted the scope of subsidized family planning services currently provided by the NGOs. The HA has been increasing the number of quotas for IVF to 1,800. The government has also introduced a tax deduction for expenses on assisted reproductive services of up to $100,000 a year to alleviate the financial burden of the public. As proposed by the Council on Human Reproductive Technology, we are going to amend legislation this year to remove the legal restrictions on the storage period of gametes and embryos for self-use. We will continue to carry out reforms and make proper planning in the light of demographic changes so as to safeguard the health of the public. I so submit. Thank you.
Mr. Kenneth Falk. Thank you, President. The government attaches importance to this motion. That's why we have officials from 3 bureaus. That's good to see. Now let's first approach population. And that's about numbers. Talent, on the other hand, is about quality. Now we have seen a structural change in the population. 5 years ago, annual deaths outnumbered annual births, and that's a warning sign from years ago. That's why I agree on the need to set up a top-level dedicated structure on population so that we can stay competitive. Now we can look at regional cooperation. We can also approach this with a global perspective, and we can look at education. Now at the third plenary session of the 20th CPC Central Committee, we heard that our country, our party, wants Hong Kong to become an international talent hub. We shouldn't just be thinking about ourselves. We should treat our city as a city where we have a pool of talent for our country. Now, the GBA is about sharing of resources and complementing each other. Under CEPA, we have mutual recognition of professional qualifications. We have talent moving between the mainland and Hong Kong. We should bear in mind the entire Greater Bay Area. We should be sharing resources and fostering efforts to complement each other. So this top-level structure should work with Macau and the 9 mainland cities of the GBA. We need liaison mechanisms. Regular meetings will help. Let's look at the resources, the policies, and the challenges of the entire GBA. Globally, Hong Kong is a highly open and externally oriented economy. So we should have a global perspective of what we do. Let's look at Donald Trump. He just barred Harvard University from enrolling foreign students. That's a great opportunity for us to attract foreign students. Our local universities have responded quickly. Once we have this top-level structure, we should be looking out for such international opportunities, and we should be attracting talent. We also have a part to play in deepening reform. At the 2 sessions today, I also moved a motion on talent. So let's leverage the edge of our education system, and let's also meet the needs of mainland enterprises so that we create an integrated platform of research, academia, and industries so that we provide the talent our country needs. The original motion mentions the need for planning across public services and other sectors. So as Mr. Kenneth LEUNG's amendment says, we need targeted research and planning for population, and that has to do with education. Research focus should be on market needs. Vocational, public, and professional education and training can play a vital part in our role as a talent hub. We're in the era of AI, education needs to keep up. We should make greater use of technology in learning. I hope this alliance of universities of applied sciences can play a role in the use of technology as we create this study in Hong Kong brand and make it more competitive, and we should keep more talent. We need people, the numbers, before we have talent. Our fertility rate remain low. Ms. Nixie Lam has already discussed the matter extensively, and we already have a reply, so I won't go into that. Talent brings innovation and also development. Talent matters. I agree on the need to set up a top-level dedicated structure. We should estimate the kinds of talent and the number of bright minds we need at the regional and the global level. Let's leverage our edge. We should promote the integration of education and industry so that Hong Kong becomes a talent hub of our country. So may I support the motion and the amendment.
Ms. Maggie Chan, President, I thank and support Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's original motion and the amendments moved by other members. We are faced with an aging population and low birth rate. The issue is getting more serious every day. This has brought about challenges to various industries. Last year, about 36,000 babies were born. And this is an increase from various some years ago. This shows the effectiveness of the newborn baby bonus. However, the total fertility rate in Hong Kong is still lower than the global average. Our family's decision to give birth to a child is affected by various factors. We need a consolidated policy to solve the issue, to encourage people to bear a child. In May 2023, I move a motion on encouraging women to work and enhance women labor participation rate, as well as boosting the birth rate here. I thank the government for rolling out various family-friendly policies and improving our childcare services. I think that we should raise the birth rate, we should enhance the women labor force participation rate, enhance the coverage and quality of childcare service, and increase the success rate of human reproductive technologies services. I have a few suggestions. First, we should regulate the newborn baby bonus scheme we should distribute the newborn baby bonus according to the income of various families to control our expenditure. We should promote and send this message that the government support childbearing. We should encourage families to use the childcare services provided by the government. Second, we should unleash the potential women labor force. We should enhance the Women Empowerment Fund, encourage housewives to join the labor force. We should offer entrepreneurial support, childcare subsidy, so on and so forth. I think that we should enhance our information platform to offer information on job opportunities so that they can balance their families and work. And indirectly, we can boost our birth rate. Third, we should improve our childcare services. I think that the government should conduct a survey and analysis on the demand and supply of childcare services across the territory. We should allocate resources in a targeted manner based on the surveyed outcome. We should also encourage schools to extend their after-school care program to support families with both parents who work. The administration should offer diversified childcare services, say, for example, by offering full-day, half-day, weekend childcare services. By this, we can alleviate the burden of working parents, especially women, so as to incentivize them to bear a child and enhance labor force participation rate. Third, we should develop assisted reproductive technology and services. The government should offer more tailored policies and measures to encourage families to bear a child. And also, I think that we should support the integration of Chinese medicine into assisted reproductive technology and services. If we can combine Chinese medicine and modern science, we can enhance the success rate of reproductive services. I so speak in support of the motion and the amendments. Mr. Ngaman Yu. President, we have a low birth rate and we have an aging population as well as a declining labor force participation rate. We see a manpower crunch in various industries. The government has implemented various labor importation schemes to solve the problem. However, these are band-aid solutions. We have to increase our birth rate in order to increase workforce over the long run and drive our economy. On unleashing local labor force, well, I have to thank the LEUNG Secretariat and the research team, because with their help, a report on how Singapore and Japan support working mothers has been formulated. These countries addressed the issues that they are faced with, and the research team have made reference to other countries' practice and given concrete suggestions. According to the report, in 2025, women aged between 25 and 54, 55 to 64, their labor participation rate is far lower than other advanced economies in Asia. Women of these two age groups amount to about 1 million. This shows that we have a substantial potential labor force. However, because they usually have to take care of their families, they choose not to work. Some elderly may want to rejoin the labor force, but they are faced with age discrimination and outdated skills. That's why they're not able to do so. So I think that we should roll out measures to encourage mothers to come out to work, and I have the following suggestions. First, I think that the government should offer a program to teach foreign domestic helpers to take care of newborn babies and children, to address the needs of various families. This is also to make sure that newborn babies and children are being taken care of. Second, we should increase the quotas for after-school care program. We should have regards to the demand of various districts, and we should perhaps extend the operating hours of these after-school care program during holidays and weekends, so that working mothers don't have to choose between their family or work. Third, I think that we should upgrade the employment centers under the Labor Department and integrate it in with the office under the Employee Retraining Board to target elderly by offering matching services for them, so that they can have their skills upgraded and re-enter the labor market as soon as possible. On enhancing birth rate, I think that the government should offer family-friendly measures to encourage women to bear children. Through public-private partnership, we should offer tax concessions to enterprises so that they offer, say, flexi working hours arrangements to their employees. Now, in terms of hardware, I think that the government should formulate various strategies to encourage enterprises and shopping centers to offer family toilets, nursery rooms, so that we can be more family friendly. We're faced with a low birth rate and declining labor force. We have to solve these issues in order to sustain Hong Kong's development. I hope that the government will adopt my suggestions. Thank you. Mr. Chan Chen-ying. President, I speak in support of Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion. Population policy will affect our long-term development and competitiveness. As at the end of 2024, we have 7.3 million people. At 2046, we'll have 8.1 million people. Compared to London and New York, the international financial centers, they already have 8.4 million and 9 million people, respectively. Their labor participation force is higher than ours by 8%. Their young people rate is 30%. Their tertiary institution education rate is also 60%. They have more INT talents than ours. So I think that we are lagging behind. When the chief executive answered journalist question, he said that we should increase our population to 10 million people. I agree with that. However, I don't see any policies coming out from the government to boost population. If we just rely on organic growth, I don't think that we can catch up with other financial centers. A top-level structure is very important as a result. The HRPC was established in 2017. However, its duties is to enhance labor force participation rate and offer employment assistance. There's no breakthrough in terms of population policy yet. I think that the government should review the functions of this commission to turn it into a commission on long-term population policy. We should have regards to the practice of other advanced economies. They tend to, while attracting talents from other places, boost their local birth rate. We should create a more inclusive environment at work. I think that the government should encourage enterprises to offer flexi working hours and childcare subsidy. We should improve childcare services to alleviate the burden of working mothers, because mothers these days are well educated. So through family-friendly measures, they can continue to work, and thus will enhance our labor force participation rate. I think that the government should integrate resources to nurture local talents. I think that they should encourage tertiary institutions to work with enterprises to improve the VPAT system. On INT and finance sectors, we should have an articulation program. The government should work with professional bodies, enterprises, and tertiary institutions to create online and offline training platforms. And they should upgrade and update the content of the courses having regards to the latest trend to help employees enhance their skills. And this will boost some 270,000 quotas have been approved under various labor importation scheme. But these talents may not choose to stay behind upon the expiry of their visas. So it shows that the government is still adopting this input thinking. They are ignoring the actual needs of various sectors, such as the financial sector. We have to make sure that these talents are actually staying in Hong Kong. We should change our KPI from the number of applications approved to the length of stay of these talents. We should adjust the talent list dynamically to enhance our competitiveness. President, population policy is a cornerstone to our development. Faced with competition from neighboring cities, we must formulate a comprehensive structure. We have to develop ourselves into a competitive city. Thank you.
Mr. Jeffrey Lam, thank you, President. We often say concerted efforts will be better, so the more manpower, the better. The more the merrier, right? And we need manpower in order for society to move forward. In 2046, we will have 8.19 million in population, but a lot of them will be elderly persons. The labor force participation rate will drop to 52%. This issue of aging population is faced by many advanced economies. We are faced with fierce competition from neighboring cities, so we really need to recruit more talents. We need to actively recruit talents. But how can we retain talents so that they will settle in Hong Kong? That is even more important. We often talk about attracting talents from Belt and Road countries and the Middle East to come to Hong Kong. We have in those countries many Islamic communities. So have we done enough in accommodating these groups? Do we even have enough halal food restaurants? under the 14th five-year plan, we are to develop the 8 centers positioning. And I agree with what was said in the original motion that we need to strengthen interdepartmental coordination and tie in with the development of 8 centers and carry out comprehensive planning for the sustainable development of Hong Kong's economy and society and promote short, medium, and long-term population policies. We have a great Islamic financial market. Do we have enough talents to cater to the community? Right now, we do not have any master's program in nurturing the relevant talents. The government recently updated the talent list that has included financial professionals working in Islamic finance. This is a starting point. Some say if we introduce mainland overseas professionals into Hong Kong, it will hurt local employment. We should not think that way, because with advancement of technology, if we do not have the right talents, it would take much time to nurture local talents. We need to seize the opportunities by recruiting talents from elsewhere. We welcome talents from all over the world, just like we welcome enterprises from all over the world. But for specific talents, we need to be proactive in recruiting them. So in the long term, should we recruit talents for them to settle in Hong Kong or nurture local talents? That can be determined later. We have recently signed an MOU with a French aircraft dismantling company to have Hong Kong develop into an aircraft parts maintenance and aircraft dismantling center. But in order for us to develop into such a center, we need to recruit the relevant talents and nurture the relevant talents. As I understood, it was said that we need the manpower for society to develop. We need to provide a good career ladder for our youngsters to move up the career ladder. We need to consolidate the 8 centers positioning for the benefit of the economy and society. The government should strengthen coordination, education and training, actively attract investment and enterprises to make Hong Kong a good place for settling into. President, I so submit speaking in support of the original motion and the amendments. Reverend Peter Kun. We are now at a critical juncture. We have persistently low fertility rates and aging population. We have also a serious manpower gap. This has become a structural issue. So there is a need for a top-level structure to consolidate resources from different bureaus and departments and to formulate forward-looking population policy. Our demographics policy is fragmented at the moment. There is no top-level steer. For example, for the Top Talent Pass scheme, in 2 years, we had many talents come to Hong Kong. But some applicants only came for education for children or visa facilitation arrangements. They did not want to settle in Hong Kong. And the talents are mostly in areas in finance, healthcare, but we are still short 60,000 skilled professionals. So it seems that we are still short in some areas. We have different bureaus working different policy areas. We have the LWB trying to attract talents, but the education and healthcare related policies are still the responsibilities of the other bureaus. So there is no comprehensive policy. We have also great pressure on the public healthcare system of Hong Kong. The healthcare system in Hong Kong is treatment-oriented, not prevention-oriented. Waiting time can be years. We have chronic diseases, hypertension, dementia. We have more of such patients as we have an aging population. The model of operation of the public healthcare system right now is not sustainable. The average waiting time for patients, elderly patients, is 3 years. So without a proper care environment, elderly persons do not get good care. We have seen an increase of 6,200 places, but this is not adequate. In order to effectively tackle the relevant issues, we need a top-level structure dedicated to devising a blueprint for the long term. We need to first set the goals and link them to industrial development as well as land use planning so that there is coordination. We also need to have a dashboard for tracking various data, how many talents are staying in Hong Kong, and the other parameters so that we can ensure quality of living for incoming talents. We should not only look at the number of talents coming to Hong Kong, we also need to have an understanding of their industries and the talents' contribution to the economy. We also need to make sure we are switching from the model of healthcare from treatment-oriented to prevention-oriented. We should also make sure we have community teams to facilitate aging in place. We should also explore collaboration with GBA mainland cities to encourage more elderly persons to retire in the mainland. Having comprehensive elderly care policies will ensure the golden era of elderly persons will have them in good care. We should have top-level steer by having a dedicated commissioner for elderly care to meet the challenges ahead and formulate long-term plans for elderly care services. We need to have a top-level structure that can go beyond a single political cycle for the benefit of society. Thank you. Mr. Martin Liao. We have a very low fertility rate in the world. Since 2022, we have had less births than deaths. It does not support the normal turnover of a population. According to the Health Bureau, in 2039, for those aged 60 or above, that would be 2.5 million. It would be accounting for a big part of the population. And according to WHO, that would mean that we are an aging society. So the government really has to coordinate population policy to tackle the challenges ahead. We have a number of initiatives involve education, labor and welfare, healthcare, childcare, etc. And in the original motion, it is said that we should establish a top-level structure dedicated to devising a population policy. I very much support this. But I think regardless of whether we set up a structure, the government should be forward-looking in formulating, for example, immigration policies. For general immigration policies can ensure those immigrating to Hong Kong can go into the trades that have a manpower gap. And in fact, in other advanced economies such as Singapore, They have 30% of their working population coming from the mainland. They work in transportation, they work in logistics industries. And we have other places having immigration schemes for students or high-tech talents. And in fact, for a particular country, between 2025 to 2027, even though they said they would cut immigration quotas, they would still allow for 300,000 odd immigrants. And in Japan, there are subsidies handed out to companies in 16 areas such as F&B industry to engage foreign nationals in their work because there are serious manpower gaps in these sectors. For those with specific skills, there are 16 professions actually in Hong Kong that would allow, in Japan, that would allow people to get residency if they work in these professions. With an aging population, Hong Kong needs to, in the long term, boost fertility rate and have more childcare support. Childbearing is expensive in Hong Kong, and often both parents work in Hong Kong, so they do not have the time to care for children, which is why they are hesitant in childbearing. In the 2023 policy address, there are a number of measures to support families with children, such as the newborn baby bonus and priority allocation of public housing for families. We have also seen an increase in the number of child care center places as well as subsidies. Child care services have also been expanded to different parts of Hong Kong. There are also other child care support measures. I think we can refer to the experience of Japan and South Korea to have child care leave so that parents can take longer leave after childbirth. And the government should also put in place flexible working arrangements to encourage work-life balance. I speak in support of the motion amendments. So submit.
Professor Chow Min Kok. Madam Deputy, I support Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion and the amendment. The population policy has to do with many bureaus: Health Bureau, Education Bureau, Security Bureau, the CEDB, etc. That's why I support a top-level dedicated structure to coordinate population policy to oversee all that work. Now, the way forward for our population policy: how do we encourage childbearing? How do we attract talent and meet the labor needs of specific industries? The government has done much over the past couple of years. I do have some ideas. First, to encourage childbearing, we have to create an atmosphere for young people to see that it's costly to have children, but having a family can bring satisfaction. The 2023 policy address proposed the groundbreaking measure of the newborn baby bonus. It's $20,000, so the population grew by 4,200 from the year before. But then, you look at 10 years ago, back then it was 60,000 births per year. We're now still behind where we were in terms of annual births 10 years ago. So the government should put the needs of people, especially dual-income families, first. We should lower the child raising costs to encourage childbearing. Now, on tax concessions, I propose the child care allowance, and we should have doubled the allowance, not just for 1 year, but also 3 years. Now, there are families looking to trade up. They want to move to larger flats, so we should lengthen the mortgage default guarantee for second-hand HOS flats. We should double the period. Now, for premium unpaid HOS flats, you only get one chance to trade up. Relaxing these restrictions will allow seniors to sell their larger flats, and then you can allow families with an extra child to buy the larger HUS flats. A change in mindset is also needed, and that requires the Education Bureau and the community as a whole. We should be spreading this idea that starting and having a family gives you satisfaction. Now, talent. We should enhance the top talent pass scheme. We should relax the restrictions on universities so that we have talent to turn Hong Kong into a talent hub for the 8 centers. By 2028, we will be 180,000 workers short. Many emerging industries will also confront an acute labor crunch, say AI specialists and data analysts. We will need many such specialists. So we can do two things in terms of talent attraction. We should attract existing talent. So let's learn from the UK, Japan, and Singapore. Now, for holders of a master's degree or above, let them come in under categories B and C. And for street industries with an acute labor shortage like biomedicine and information technology, let's pilot these industries so that we bring those talent, those bright minds in first. And we should also attract future talents. Let's look at non-local students at universities. We want to turn Hong Kong into an education hub. Back in 2021, there were only 40,000 non-local students. Now we have more than 72,000 such students. So our measures are paying off. And let's also seize the opportunity from the U.S. crackdown on academic freedom. People are losing confidence in the U.S. So let's relax our restrictions. And we can also do away with the restrictions, do away with the cap on non-local students at the 8 UGC-funded universities so that we can attract the brightest here. Now, I support putting our local workers first, but let's also be clear. In sectors such as the construction sector, workers are aging. Half of our construction workers are aged over 50. Without a swift solution to the labor crunch, we cannot keep the construction sector going, and the same goes for the elderly care sector. The labor import schemes are project-specific rather than company-specific. That's unrealistic. So relaxations are in order. We should let imported workers to take part in different projects, to take part in Northern Metropolis project. Dr. Tan Yueheng. Thank you, Madam Deputy. The Census and Statistics Department released figures showing that we had 7.53 million people last year. That's 3 years of growth in a row, but the population edged up only 0.1%. Live births were fewer than annual death, and that points to the worsening in our aging population. In the long term, that would mean a labor crunch. We will lack momentum across industries. Our economy will struggle. We heard that to stay competitive, we will need 10 million people. We need to add 2.5 million extra population, and that will take sustained effort over time. We will need a scientific population policy, and everything needs to work together in this overall policy. That's why I support Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion and other members' amendments. We do need a top-level structure to plan for our population issue. Our population policy used to focus on human resources. We focus on economic returns. But a good population policy should be more than just about human resources for the economy. We also have to bear in mind the needs of our population. We have to take a multi-pronged approach. Let's think about housing and other matters. Let's create a favorable environment for young people. Let's make a greater effort to encourage childbearing. And we need a rational approach to bring in talent to meet the labor crunch. The population is aging. We need to plan for our elderly care services accordingly. So here are my thoughts. 1. We need a better strategy for population. We should continuously assess the situation, get a good grasp of what the community needs, so that we have something that meets our medium to long-term needs and also meets the needs of our local residents. So let's set up task forces, look at the population size, the structure, the distribution. Let's do a full assessment of our population. On that basis, let's update our population policy. After policies are launched, we need a mechanism involving different sectors and departments. We need coordination. We need dynamic changes to policies and also long-term research so that we can keep up with the constant evolving population and market landscape. And we should encourage childbearing. We need family-friendly measures. Let's deal with the key issues in this area. We have to address the problem at source. That's how we can address the sub-replacement fertility issue and aging population. We need to ditch the positive non-interventionist policy in childbearing. We need to encourage childbearing in a number of ways. More incentives for childbearing. More resources for families with young children. We need a favorable social climate for childbearing, child raising, and education, and also let's make it easier for young people to achieve upward mobility. And we also need to attract talent. Let's do research. Let's look at our plans for attracting talent. We should focus on finance, trading, and aviation. Look at what kind of talent we need. Let's assess our needs, and then we take a targeted approach to attracting the talent we need. And we need support services for incoming talent so that we bring in talent and keep the talent. Fourth, we need better elderly care. We need services adapted to seniors. We have to fix the shortcomings in elderly care insurance. For the elderly care sector, let's encourage its development. And let's get seniors involved. Let's get more seniors to work. That helps meet the labor crunch. I support the motion and the amendments. Mr. Jesse Shang. Thank you, Madam Deputy. I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for his motion. I also thank him for this. This motion has much to do with us. Now, the latest figures show that we are in a dire situation. Our birth rates remain low. Our aging population is aging fast. The labor force participation rate is also falling. This has to do with our existence as a community. Different sectors posed at different levels will also see a labor crunch. We also have AI, and that's dealing a blow to our demographics. We have to pay ever greater attention to the issues surrounding population talent. It's a profound challenge we're confronting. A band-aid approach will do nothing for us. Demographic changes have to do with so many aspects in the community. No single community can fix the problem. Different policies are pursued by different departments. You have such a fragmented picture, and that's how you get silos across departments. Failure to fix education issues will dampen the desire of outside talent to come here. Without career planning and development for incoming talent and local workers, you get tension between incoming talent and local workers. I believe the Secretary of Education and the Chief Executive have heard the concerns of parents from incoming talent. I've got more than 100 inquiries and requests for help. I support this top-level structure to coordinate population policy. Let's work together. That's how we can make a difference. Let's get and let's assess our situation. This is key to our success. Now, I'm the founding president of the Hong Kong Top Talent Service Association. We're the Top Talent Pass scheme, and that, among other population talent admission scheme, is key to our population system. Now, we got more than 200,000 people here just because of the top talent scheme. A third of them are children. Over half of these applicants are aged below 40, and they're key to our population structure. We are now getting younger people, and these are families. These bright minds coming here are supplementing our population, but they struggle with integration. Incoming talent makes an immediate difference. We're sending out an extra 220,000 tax return forms, and we're getting more than $9 billion in extra tax revenue. Median income of top talent, $50,000, and they bring $34 billion in economic contribution. That's 1.2% of our GDP. Stream B talent makes up a quarter of these incoming bright minds. Most of them start businesses in Hong Kong. Last year, there were 9,600 newly started businesses. Many of those were started by the new incoming talent. We have the policy to bring talent, but integration is a challenge for them. Government figures show 54% of the respondents, people here under the Top Talent Pass scheme, struggled because of our over-reliance on certain industries. We held 6 large-scale jobs fair, but fewer jobs are available now. Hiring businesses are not as many as the government have said. People come here, they become Hong Kong people. We are an international city because we have been open and inclusive towards incoming talent, but we need enhancement. Education, job seeking, we need to do better. Now, on the $20,000 newborn baby bonus for a couple working here for 6 years, if they pay taxes, they cannot get the newborn baby bonus. So can we also give the $20,000 for those non-permanent Hong Kong residents? That's to align the treatment for all our residents. There are serious problems with our population policy. We need to look into our population policy. We need a review. I support Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion.
Dr. Stanley Ng. Madam Deputy, I speak in support of Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion on establishing a top-level dedicated structure to devise a population policy, and the 2 amendments. Low birth rate, aging population, declining labor force participation rate, these are the challenges that we're faced with. The current system lacks a long-term vision. If we establish a top-level dedicated structure, we can plan ahead strategically for the benefit of our economy and society. Population policy involves different areas, including economic development, labor and welfare, immigration, education, training, geographical planning, housing supply, etc. Many policy bureaus are involved. In 2018, the government established the Human Resources Planning Commission to coordinate various bureaus and departments. The functions of the commission include looking into, study various policies, monitor, review, and study training and employment support services, follow up and enhance the government's population policy, and promote the stakeholders in taking forward these policies. Although the Commission does play a coordinating and steering role, that's different from establishing a top-level dedicated structure. There are various constraints to the Commission. The authority of this Commission is limited. The Commission focused on monitoring and reviewing. They have no authority to mandate a department or bureaus to enforce any policies. It does not serve the function of a top-level dedicated structures. The functions of the Commission are focused on labor force, immigration, fertility promotion, population ecosystems are not covered. Third, the Commission focused on discussion instead of devising policy based on data. Fourth, non-ex-official members come from various sectors. The government consult the Commission on various topics, but the Commission only advises the administration. I am a non-ex-official member of the Commission. I am fully aware of its deficiencies. If we can establish a top-level dedicated structure, we can take forward the population policy more effectively. I think that the structure should fulfill the following functions. First, we should focus on devising policy instead of just discussing the various areas. Second, the scope of the Commission should be wider. They should not only discuss labor force topics or issues. Third, we should enhance data connection among different bureaus and departments. We should drive policy with concrete figures. Fourth, we have to enhance the role of trade unions in the structure. We should enhance its participation and its say. This is how we can make our society more fair. We should be mindful of expanding the structure too much. We can upgrade the existing Commission. Madam Deputy, population policy is about the sustainable development of Hong Kong. We should not rush, but we should not stay stagnant. I so submit. Mr. Jimmy Ng, thank you. We are faced with an aging population, and it will bring about a number of issues. In 2021, there are 1.45 million elderly people in Hong Kong that account for 20% of our population. In 2046, we have 2.5 million elderly in Hong Kong. That's a 50% increase. By then, there will be one elderly person per 3 Hong Kong people. For those that are not elderly, there are students and housewives. So the future labor market is very worrisome. Last month, the working group on promoting silver economy rolled out several measures, saying that we should unleash the elderly labor force. That is a great suggestion. People like to work here. Many people work beyond their retirement age. I have a friend who has just been retired after reaching 60 years old. He wanted to work, but he had to take care of his mothers and fathers who were aged 90. We have many elderly taking care of other elders in Hong Kong. In order to encourage elderly to re-enter the labor market, we should not just rely on silver economy policies. We have been discussing the same issue over the past decades. The government has published 4 dedicated reports on the same topic. The last one was published in 2015. 5 strategies were devised. We have to create a labor market for women and elderly. We have to attract more talents to come here, encourage people to create a family, give birth to children. We have to create an elderly-friendly environment. These 5 measures are still applicable. In 2023 policy address, the chief executive said that they're looking into the population trend. He also said back then that we have to have policy to boost fertility. Increasing birth rate is the most direct solution to solve our population issue, but how can we do that? The BP has various suggestions. We should regulate newborn baby bonus scheme. We should offer tax deductions for families with children aged below 3. We should allow tax deductions for recruitment or hiring of foreign domestic helpers. We should increase the child allowances. I have some more suggestions. First, we should learn from South Korea. For families with more than 2 children, we should issue a happiness cards to them, offering them discounts on children products. Second, we have this priority selection scheme for families with newborn under the HOS. We should perhaps allow families with children tax deductions for purchasing new flats. So apart from increasing birth rate, we should attract talents. We have to improve the top talent pass scheme by facilitating top talents to purchase flats here. Population policy involves different areas. We should not just rely on a single bureau or department. We have to have a top-level dedicated structure in order for us to achieve results. I still speak in support of the motion and the amendments. Ms. Yong Hao-yan. Thank you. I speak in support of Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion and Mr. Kenneth and Ms. Nixie Lam's amendments. I think that we have to establish a top-level dedicated structure to devise a population policy. Together with Mr. Kenneth LEUNG, we published a proposal on how we can promote population growth. It seems that we have established a foundation to promote population growth, but given the low birth rate and declining labor force participation rate, as well as aging population, how can the government solve these issues? I support the suggestions raised by Mr. Jiming. I saw the government officials nodding their heads. If we can actually implement the suggestions, then I believe that more families would be willing to give birth to more children. Our population structures has changed, and I learned that Japan said that their population reached a historic low this year. It was the year of dragon last year. That's why the birth rate was higher, coupled with the government policies. It seems that the fertility rate has rebounded. If we don't have the newborn baby bonus of $20,000, then perhaps our birth rate will continue to drop. The chief executive said that in order to enhance our competitiveness, he said that we should increase our population to 10 million people. But we should not just focus on the quantity or numbers. We need to have facilitation measures. The government is trying to encourage fertility, childbearing. I think that we have to work on different areas, such as childcare, education, elderly care, and so on and so forth. Yesterday, it was the results of primary school place allocation. less than 80% of children can get their top 3 wishes. Given the low birth rate and many people leaving Hong Kong, parents are now more aggressive. But it seems that the reality says otherwise. Many people were not able to get into their top 3 schools. Immigrants who settle here are Hong Kong people. We want them to stay here and study here. We need to have comprehensive measures. We need to have enough school places in government schools, international schools. I went to Tseung Kwan O all the time. They said that the school places in international schools there are not enough because, well, as a result, most of them don't take local students. If we don't have comprehensive measures, it's difficult for us to encourage child bearing. Many schools complained about not being able to enroll enough students. So different people have different demand. With more population, there are schools that can't enroll enough students. And there are insufficient school places in some. This is a problem in Tai Po and Tseung Kwan O districts. I think that the government should establish a top-level structure. And this is what me and Mr. Kenneth LEUNG said in our proposal as well. The government's measures are effective, but I think that we need to have a top-level planning. Thank you.
Mr. Lam Chin Sing. Thank you, Deputy President. I would like to thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for saying that we have to establish a top-level structure dedicated to devising a population policy. We have 20 years ago already a steering committee that was set up to devise population policy. There were various changes made, and in 2014 we have seen a dismissal of the relevant steering committee. Ever since then, we do not have a committee dedicated to devising population policy. Essentially, it is replaced by the Human Resources Planning Commission chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration. The membership comprise experts and stakeholders from different areas. So this is a high-level commission, but I think we should not only focus on human resources planning because the issue is wide-ranging. It covers employment, healthcare, etc. And we need to gauge the effectiveness of measures. We need to look into different policy areas. The work is heavy, so we need a dedicated body for such work. We have many members of the Human Resources Planning Commission being high-level government officials. We have professions that are related to the Development Bureau and Transport Logistics Bureau, but we have serious shortage in these professions. If we admit 3,000 talents, will that affect local employment? How can we make sure there is a proper allocation of manpower? There should be high-level steering. Mr. Kenneth LEUNG, in his amendments, talked about how we need to have an overall strategy and policy. We have many talents, top talents working in Hong Kong, and they have become Hong Kong permanent residents. We are just at the starting point of the Top Talent Pass scheme. We have over 100,000 applications approved, but we still can't see the effectiveness of the scheme just yet. How many talents will actually be able to work in their professions? And we can leverage on their skills. If they do not renew their visas or they are working in other professions that do not tap into their skills, what's the point? And if we actually allow employment visas via companies, it may actually be better for us to recruit the proper talents. We need the government to have estimates on how many top talents will actually settle in Hong Kong to facilitate policy making. We have, in the past 10 years in China, falling fertility rate. We have also seen the natural growth rate of population being in the negatives. So there is a need to boost fertility rate. But the problem is, even with a newborn baby bonus, people will not automatically want to give birth to children. But I think this is better than nothing. It is a form of incentive. In future, we need to have more proactive childbearing encouraging policies. We have to put in place, for example, flexible working arrangements. I so submit speaking in support of the original motion. Mr. Chan Xiu-hong, I speak in support of Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's original motion to establish a top-level structure dedicated to devising a population policy and the amendments proposed by other members. We have a report that was published earlier that had multiple initiatives on population policy. And in recent years, we have seen the measures having been implemented in full. But it has been quite some time since. We have different development directions for society. We have more people going to the mainland, shopping, eating. We now have a living circle in the Greater Bay Area. We also have seen new economic growth engines and the use of AI. There are indeed significant changes. We have an aging population, a persistently low fertility rate. Our demographic structure is challenged. There should be targeted measures to alleviate the situation. According to the Census and Statistics Department's figures, we have seen 24% of the population being 65 or above. So around 1/4 of the population is 65 or above. We have, in 2016, have 10,000 odd newborns and, more than 60,000 newborns. And then after that, in recent years, we have only 30,000 odd newborns. We need to have a more favorable childbearing environment, and the government has promulgated some measures. In 2023, we have seen a boost in fertility rate that is in 33,000 births or 35,000 odd births with these measures. So it is said in future, with the sale of subsidized housing, more smaller units will be offered, seeing that now families are smaller. I think we need to really consider the situation to see if it is the case. We have seen changes coming very quickly. We had the chief executive saying in the interview that we need to actively troll for talents. We need to maintain our competitiveness by having at least a 10 million population. We have many talent admission schemes, but we only have 7.5 million population at the moment. We are still far from the 10 million mark. We need not only to focus on quantity, but also quality. We also need to consider what the locals need. We have different areas at play: economy, housing, immigration. So we need to have cross-departmental coordination. Since 2018, the Human Resources Planning Commission was at its work, and it is chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration. The commission is about consolidating resources of the government and examine and review on macro level population policy. We had a subcommittee in the LETCO that had looked into population policy. But I think we are not taking a perspective that is macro enough. We need to have top-level steer. I think with macro-level policies and measures, we need to consider population and demographic factors. Say when we work on urban renewal or developing the northern metropolis, we need to consider the demographic factors. The HRPC should not be only reviewing manpower policies. They should make forward-looking plans. They should continuously review, say, every 5 years, short, mid, long-term measures to tackle the challenges ahead to ensure the competitiveness of Hong Kong. I so submit, Mr. Chen Pui-Leng. Having population policy is important to society, but we are faced with an aging population, low fertility rates, manpower gaps, and mismatch of skills. It has posed significant challenges. Population policy actually covers a number of areas. I would first like to thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for proposing that we need to establish a top-level structure dedicated to devising a population policy for the benefit of society. And at different times, we had different committees looking into population policy. We had a steering committee and then committee. In 2018, we had the HRPC. All of these structures were led by the Chief Secretary for Administration. Since its establishment, the HRPC has been discussing issues such as manpower training, attracting talents, retaining talents. So, as the name suggests, it is for human resources, and we have Secretary for Labor and Welfare. We have also the chairman of 3 major training and qualifications related organizations, or the membership of the commission. It demonstrates the government's vision of having long-term vision with human resources planning. But the commission only reviews and just basically examine existing policies. They do not practice forward-looking planning. They don't have reference to the demographic factors when making suggestions. So I think we need to be forward-looking when devising policies so that we can match the demographic changes and demand in manpower. Mr. Kenneth Leung talked about we need to have ongoing and targeted research on and development for Hong Kong's population development. After a report has been published on population policy, we have had relevant measures, but the report was published 10 years ago, and the situation in Hong Kong has changed significantly. We have seen now persistently low fertility rates. We have also seen more Hong Kongers going to elsewhere for development. We should actively recruit talents so that we can change the demographic structure. And we also see a change in the needs in healthcare and education. With reference to industrial development, we need now different kinds of manpower. We need to be forward-looking when planning for manpower needs, actually. We need to have a grasp on accurate data and conduct timely analyses so that we can have scientific justifications for policies. We have the census and the statistics departments gauging the relevant data, but we also have the LWB saying for the 8 centers industries and 9 related professions, we will be short on manpower. But with talent admission measures, we may see the gap narrow. We need to have an up-to-date indicator so that we can look at the different parameters for talent admission. Once we met certain goals, the government may, in a timely manner, make adjustments to the relevant policies so that the policies can be more flexible. I so submit, speaking in support of Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's original motion and other amendments.
Mr. Chen Kimball. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Population aging, labor crunch, with all that confronting us, we need a strategic mindset to developing a long-term population policy. We need more population, we need younger population. I thank Dr. Lo for his motion and the amendments from other members. This allows us to have a discussion and share our ideas on how we can fix this population crisis and also inject fresh momentum for our economy. We should face up to our aging population as a pressing issue. Now, by the end of 2049, we will see more than 30% of our population being seniors. And as at the end of 2023, households with all seniors made up 200,000, and that's a quarter of the households of the housing authority, and that leads to labor crunch across industries, more burden for the healthcare sector. Our labor market suffers. Professor Richard Wong, the economist, argued that we need 10 million people. We also need a better population structure. We need to attract talent. More momentum for our economy is our way out. We need a long-term strategy. We need elderly care in the Greater Bay Area. Let's have measures to encourage seniors aged 65 or above to seek elderly care in the rest of the GBA. Let's try measures even more ambitious. Let's encourage people to surrender their PRH flats and live in the mainland instead. If we let seniors pass on their properties to the next generation, they will be willing to do it. They move to the mainland, they hand back their PRH flats, and we can speed up redevelopment, and we can convert the flats into talent apartments. We will be able to save public money, and that would be a bargain for us. On having a younger population, let's keep enhancing the Top Talent Pass scheme. We should attract talent in their 30s. They're in their prime. They bring fresh momentum into our economy, and when they come here, they will also need education and housing. Now, on redevelopment in all districts, let's allow the conversion of existing office buildings into talent apartments. Let's provide support services. Let's help them integrate into the community. Let's make this place a great place, Hong Kong, a great place to live and work. Let's attract talent aged in their 30s to come here to live and work. Now, for our long-term competitiveness, we need a population policy. We need a framework to make Hong Kong more attractive to talent as well, so that we'll lay a solid basis in terms of talent for our economic transformation. With effective population planning, we will be able to maintain our purchasing power, and we will be able to keep innovating. I so submit. Mr. Tang Fei. Madam Deputy, I support Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion and the amendments. I support the establishment of a top level structure to coordinate population measure. We need cross-departmental collaboration. I want to highlight 3 challenges for such a top-level structure, and this top-level structure will have to zero in on those 3 challenges. Otherwise, we get nowhere. First, Let's look at other successful regions, other developed economies. Let's learn from what worked for those economies. Most of those measures ended in failure. A mainland think tank just released a report with details on 10 Asian and European economies. That research looked at the population policies. Childbearing policies in Europe are the most effective. Transfer of wealth, resources in terms of incentives work best. So what does that mean for us? That means we need a package of measures. No single measure will do the trick. I'm not saying let's adopt the report lock, stock, and barrel. I'm saying our top-level structure must look at the experience, especially the successful experience, and what that did not work for other developed economies. All developed economies have to confront population aging. There are only just a few successful stories near us. Now, let's also look at the impact of artificial intelligence on jobs. A few days ago, the International Labour Organization released a report on the impact of generative AI on jobs. That report is about how generative AI is reshaping our job market. That report covers many sectors. The conclusion is that a quarter of all jobs may be seriously affected by generative AI. The more developed an economy is, the worse the blow is. A quarter of the jobs will suffer, and for developed economies, 34% of the jobs will suffer because of generative AI. Traditional jobs will suffer. Even jobs related to AI will bear the brunt. In the Silicon Valley, more than 30,000 people have been laid off. Earlier this year, there were layoffs. For Microsoft, their profits went up by 18%, but they laid off 6,000 people. Amazon, they sacked 14,000 people earlier this year. Intel also axed 15,000 workers. So even jobs related to AI also had to go. So someone who works in AI or someone who works as a programmer, they have developed AI assistants, AI robots, and then the AI robots took away those people's jobs. You don't know a thing about AI, you lose your job. Even people who know AI, people who developed AI chatbots, they lose their jobs to the AI robots they developed. Now you have a dilemma. For our future top-level structure that looks at job market, you cannot be absolutely sure about the impact of AI on jobs. My last point has to do with cross-departmental collaboration. The policy address last year proposed 4 cross-departmental working groups. I don't go into the specifics. You all know the 4 groups. I'm not against another working group, but I'm saying we already have our plates full. We have a huge fiscal deficit. How can we make another working group financially viable? You may need many departments involved. You may announce research, but then what happens next? How do you follow up on the policy? How do we get more young people in our population? That's a major challenge. I so submit. Mr. Ma Kwok. Madam Deputy, I support Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion and the amendments. Our population fluctuated in recent years. 2022, 7.3 million people, and then 2023 we were back at 7.4 million people. But there's so much uncertainty now in where our population is going, and then our population is also aging fast. Our workforce is shrinking. The Census and Statistics Department projects that by 2046 we will have 8.19 million people, but the labor force participation rate will go down to 52% from 56.9%. Attracting talent and importing workers do not go far enough in addressing our aging population. That's why we need long-term planning. Let's improve our population planning. Let's have in place pronatalist policies to maintain a stable job market. That's what will steady our economic growth. Let's look at history. We have been passive in terms of population. Over the past few years, the government expanded the talent admission schemes, and we also imported workers at different skill levels. We handed out the $20,000 newborn baby bonus. Vast resources went into the schemes. But are we getting the talent we need? Are we keeping the talent? We have not systematically assessed the outcome. We cannot reverse the low birth rate. Back in 2017, we dismantled the Steering Committee on Population Policy and merged it with something else. Now we have the Human Resources Planning Commission. But people have argued that we have focused too much on the economy in our population policy, so we should be changing tack. The future structure on population policy, we need to come up with something with foresight. Now, I agree with Mr. Kenneth LEUNG about setting a population target. We need a population target on a scientific basis. We need more young people, more students, more young families. That's how we can mitigate population aging. Then that will require a full assessment of our economy, our land capacity, and our infrastructure. We should find a way to enlarge the share of young people in our population. Let's expand the scope of talent attraction in terms of attracting young people. Let's get more students to come here. We have the 8 centers as our role. Let's project the manpower needs for those sectors. Now for I&T sectors, we should have an age breakdown in mind and work towards that goal. Now, we should also pursue pronatalist policies and ensure elderly care for seniors. Young people hesitate to get married and have children. That's because of the hectic lifestyle and the pressure, and it's hard to juggle job with family. And that's where government support is needed. Let's learn from Singapore. More childcare centers, more support in childcare, take pressure off parents. In Australia, there are subsidies. Australia is more aggressive than Singapore. Australia offers support to low-income families. Those families only pay 15% of their childcare fees. The government pays the rest. Now, for the middle-income and high-income families in Australia, they get a smaller subsidy. This arrangement assures families become comfortable with having children. And let's also tap into our silver population. Let's encourage healthy seniors to return to work. We can offer them fixed hour contract so they can keep working, and that fixes our labor crunch, and we can keep seniors socially active so that seniors keep a sense of agency. Population policy has to do with our long-term social stability and competitiveness. We should drop our short-term thinking. We should adopt holistic thinking in policy making so that we have a healthy population structure, and then we can achieve economic prosperity and social cohesion. I so submit.
Dr. Wendy Hong. I speak in support of Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion. We don't lack a top-level population policy. The government established the Human Resources Planning Commission in 2018, led by the Financial Secretary. Before that, we have a committee on population policy, also led by the Financial Secretary. In 2024 policy address, the Chief Executive said that we should establish a steering committee on education, technology, and talents, also led by the Financial Secretary. So we do have a structure to devise population policy in Hong Kong. However, the structure has not figured out a concrete goal. Our labor force participation rate is far lower than our neighboring cities, and it has been on the decline in the past 40 years. We have never addressed this issue seriously. We focused on just the aging issue. Our labor force participation rate is lower than Japan by 6%. The participation rate of various age groups is lower than our neighboring cities. Why is that? I think that it has to do with our housing and welfare policies. In Hong Kong, the lower you earn, the more support you get. If your income is higher, you will lose out on your social benefits. Middle class who work hard may have a more difficult life than those grassroots people who get social security benefits. Some people said that we should increase our population to 10 million people. It is good for our economy. However, if our labor force participation rate continue to drop, and if our population continue to grow, this will pose a burden to our society. I don't think that we should focus on a population target. Instead, we should try to increase labor force participation rate. When we attract foreign talents, we should focus on drawing those who are going to work here. Second, our birth rate is low. I think that it has to do with the stagnant social mobility. Our industry is becoming more and more monotonous. There is not many jobs with good career prospects. Our housing policies ignore the needs of people who need to progress in their career ladder. People don't want to have a children just because of the $20,000. They always yearn for a better life. If we create a better environment, I believe that more families will be willing to bear a child. If we provide an upward mobility opportunities for them, then we can increase our birth rate. Third, we should dovetail our population policy with our directions. If we don't have a goal or direction in mind, how can we devise an effective population policy? As a free economy, our model is demand-driven. This model used to be very successful, but with this top-level design, we have while our industries is focused on just a few areas. We have to have a paradigm shift. We should not just be market-driven. We should be direction-driven. We have to have goals and targets in mind. We have to have a dream. And we should devise a top-level design so that we can achieve such a goal. We have to reform our housing and welfare policies. We have to create a ladder for people to move upward. We have to devise a top-level design to fulfill and achieve our goals. That's why we need this dedicated structure. Thank you, Mr. Chen Yong. Thank you, President. I thank the undersecretaries for being here. I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for moving the motion, and Mr. Kenneth Leung and Ms. Nixie Lam for moving the amendments. Having a top-level dedicated structure can enhance our women empowerment and policies to boost birth rate. President Xi said that population growth has everything to do with the rejuvenation of our great Chinese nation. So it shows that President Xi accords a high priority to population policy. This is very crucial to Hong Kong's development. As to how we can encourage young families to bear children, Chief Executive Mr. Zhang Li said that we need more population to sustain our competitiveness. Many members have quoted the relevant figures. As of 2039, we will have 1 million more people who are aged over 60. Our birth rate is one of the lowest in the world. Even our giant pandas in Hong Kong are geriatric mothers. I think that we should turn them into our spokesperson. Ms. Nixie Lam said that women should not be protected species. So we should learn from the panda base in our country. We should make sure that we have a stable birth rate in Hong Kong. Government departments have devised many policies to grow our population. We have the newborn baby bonus. We have many labor importation schemes. But we need to have a top-level dedicated structure to coordinate different policy bureaus and departments. We need to have a systematic system so that as long as families are willing to give birth to children, they will have various supports on, say, education, transport, housing, child care, so on and so forth. Now, regarding our position as an international hub for high-caliber talents and creating child care platforms, our party is willing to work with the government on these fronts. We also have some suggestions for the government, for the chief executive. We should have housing policies. We should have family-friendly measures. We should improve our child care services. We should also take care of women's health. We should enhance the interdepartmental coordination. We should also make our information and measures more transparent. We should also reallocate our resources. We spent over $1 million on bogus refugees. We should reallocate these resources to encourage families to bear children. Some countries encourage young people to date. That's what the Singapore is doing. I think that we should perhaps learn from them. I so submit. Thank you. Professor William Wong. Thank you, President. An aging population will lead to a decline in demand and downscale our economy. It will also lead to manpower crunch and affect industries that support our economy. It will undermine the development of our society. According to the 2021 census, people aged above 60 years old account for 19.6% of our population. It is expected that as at 2039, people aged over 60 will account for 30% of our population. And we will step into a super aging society. I have various suggestions to increase our population. We have to encourage immigration and enhance birth rate. This population problem is faced by many countries. South Korea's their fertility rate is only 7.75. That's far lower than the 2.1 population replenishment rate. Our fertility rate is also low. In 2023, is also 0.75. We have to encourage childbearing. But many young people are not willing to get married or have children. It's difficult for us to change their mindset. We have long working hours. Families find it difficult to take care of their families. Childbearing cost is also high. Another way for us to increase population is to attract foreign workers and talents. The U.S. is discouraging Chinese talents from working in their country. So I think that we do have an opportunity to attract more of such people to come to Hong Kong. I support Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion. His motion comes in timely. I support it. In 2015, the government published the population policy strategies and initiatives. The government said that the strategies and initiatives have been implemented. The subcommittee on population policy was dismissed in 2017. However, the population issue has not been solved. We have to devise a new policy to cater to the new challenges. We have to tie our policy with equality. We have to work on education, housing, and other areas. The Labor and Welfare Bureau in 2024 published a 2023 manpower projection. It is said that in order for us to develop the 8 centers, we have to fill the 18 to 23,000 shortage in terms of workers. Against this background, I think that the government have to formulate another population policy strategies and initiatives. AI is just developing very rapidly. Apart from increasing population, we have to make good use of robotics and technology to fill the gap. For repetitive work, we can delegate them to the robots. For creative tasks, we should have young people to take various courses to take up these duties. We should retrain experienced workers so that we can nurture a talent pool for the development of the 8 centers. Given a low birth rate, we can promote small class teaching. We should integrate AI into classrooms so that we can nurture our next generation into a group of high-quality talents. President, I so speak in support of the motion and the amendments.
Mr. Leung. President, I speak in support of Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's original motion and the amendments proposed by the 2 other members. We have had multiple motion debates on population, and we actually had another motion debate specifically on devising population policy. Today's motion debate is a continuation of that debate, essentially. And according to the 2023 manpower projections, we will have 180,000 manpower gap in 2028. Much of them are skilled workers, and the tourism sector really feels the pain. Apart from importing talents in the short and medium term, in the long term, we need to promote vocational and professional education and training and nurture the right talents. We are academically oriented. According to a university income report in 1993, for the university graduates, they only account for approximately 10% of the total number of students. We have now definitely more university students, but we have an even bigger manpower gap in skilled professions. It seems that tertiary education is not producing the talents we need. We do not need more academia-trained students. We need to have more students in VPAT. For example, in the tourism sector, we need those who have frontline experience and communication skills to excel. We do not need academic training per se. We need those who can match the needs of the sector. So apart from developing academia, education, there is a need to nurture technical talents. We already have the Education Bureau setting up a working group for promoting VPAT, and they have made a number of recommendations. But parents still have limited awareness on VPAT. We need to enhance publicity so that society knows VPAT is for those with different sets of skills, and there is a future for them. We have seen the country recently promoting integration of industries and education so that we can have talents who are industry oriented, and the curricula were set with reference to the skills needed by the industries. So there is deep integration between the enterprises and training institutions. We are service industry oriented, so our situation is different from the mainland, but I agree with the direction taken by the mainland. We do not even have communication between industries and the academia. We have some training institutions providing tourism services training, but there is inadequate communication. There should be more training schemes, and there should be a regular communication mechanism. There should be more interactions between the training institutions and the sector so that we can nurture more technical talents. We have in 2017 dismissed the Steering Committee on Population Policy. In 2018, a Human Resources Planning Commission was established. It is chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration. We should expand the scope of work of the HRPC so that we can have comprehensive population policy for the development of Hong Kong. Thank you. Mrs. Regina Ip. I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for proposing to establish a top-level structure dedicated to devising a population policy. I also speak in support of Mr. Kenneth LEUNG's and Ms. Nixie Lam's amendments. We have seen the UK breaching the memorandum signed in 1984, allowing BNO holders to achieve residency in the UK. Before, it would only take them 5 years to become residents. Now it has become 10 years. It has hurt Hong Kongers. We have also seen multiple countries a few years ago lowering the immigration threshold. We have lost a number of people then. I actually asked an official a few years back whether there was any policy to encourage childbirth, and that official said this is an individual decision. The government should not intervene. But other governments, including the government of our country, has been trying to devise policies to boost childbirth, because if we have a declining population, we will have declining consumption. And if we have people shopping online, we have already seen that impeding economic growth. So we really need to devise population policy to encourage childbirth. We need specific measures to encourage childbirth. I recently visited Dubai. I've talked to many people. We have many cities in the mainland promulgating measures to encourage childbirth. So some would give out $1,500 until the children are 3, and some give a one-off bonus of $10,000 at childbirth. For someone living in a major city, for childbearing, it is very costly. It's not only for education, but with the various activities. Hong Kong has a newborn baby bonus of 20,000. We did see a boost in the number of newborns. But it's probably because of the fact that it was a year of the dragon. We have recently seen an employment amendment bill that would have some benefits for someone working over 68 hours. So for childcare support, can we do more? Actually, the motion debate we did yesterday was on markets. Since we are talking about how many vacant market stalls there are, we can perhaps have the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department release some of the premises for childcare facilities. On population policy, the government should take the initiative to postpone retirement age. For those admitted to the civil service after June 2000, we have their retirement ages extended already. But for those admitted before June 2000, they have not had their retirement age extended, and those in the disciplinary forces actually have an even lower retirement age. We have seen taxi drivers driving until they're in their 70s or 80s. Security guards can work till they're in their 70s, as well as judges. So I think the government can take the lead in extending the retirement age, because we now have people having longer lifespans, so people can work longer. I also support what is said by Ms. Nixie Lam to have more assisted reproductive services. Recently, I saw a wife of an actor being pregnant at 58. We can see whether technologies can allow them to give birth to really healthy babies. We need to have more measures to support childbirth. Your time is up. Mr. Wai-kwok, I speak in support of the original motion and the amendments proposed. According to a UN 2024 report, at the end of the century, the population estimates will drop by 700 million because of the low fertility rate. It will pose an impact to societies all over the world. We have a persistently low fertility rate. We have seen a declining labor force participation rate as well. According to the Census and Statistics Department, since 2020, we have seen less births than deaths. And in 2022, we have 0.701. So for every female age 15 to 49, they would only give birth to 701 babies. We have seen 36,700 births in 2024, and we have seen the rate increase to 0.841, but this is still lower than the natural population replenishment rate. Hong Kong has multiple factors that would cause people to not want to have children. We do not have flexible working arrangements. We do not have adequate childcare support. So females can't really balance work and family commitments. Childcare policy is important, and the New People's Party has been advocating for more support given to women and for them to have more flexible arrangements. And we have also been promoting the use of assisted reproductive services. The places have increased from 1,100 to 1,800, and there have been tax concessions for such services. These measures are appreciated, but these are far from adequate compared to neighboring regions. We have seen in Japan, for the treatment of infertility, it has been included in the cover for medical insurance. 70% of the costs can be reimbursed. In South Korea, we have seen many children allowances, parent allowances, as well as newborn allowances. In 2023, 11 months before childbirth, every month 1 million won will be provided. That is equivalent to 5,500 Hong Kong dollars. When we're trying to encourage childbirth, we have seen many members suggesting what to do. Population policy is a complex topic. It covers multiple areas: employment, education, attraction of talents, encouraging them to settle in Hong Kong, etc. It involves a number of bureaus and departments. Right now, we do not have a structure that provides high-level coordination. This is why we cannot have a comprehensive blueprint. So our policy has been fragmented and ineffective. Population issues pose challenges to the long-term growth of Hong Kong society. If we continue to have fragmented policies and that they only stay in the stage of conducting studies without implementation, it's just a waste of time and efforts. I note on Sunday there was a news report. The government has not been innovative in population policy, and the policy is just ineffective. So I urge the government to be forward-looking, set up a top-level structure dedicated to devising a population policy to promote short, medium, and long-term population policies. I so submit.
Mr. Peter Xu. President, I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for moving his motion on establishing a top-level dedicated structure to devise a population policy. We have to look at short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures. And we have to distinguish between manpower and talent. Now, our fertility rate is at the sub-replacement level. The population is aging. And we can see all that in the figures. So what do we do at different stages? So for the near term, we want more people to have children. We should offer better childcare, more support for women. Yes, let's do that. But that's not going to give us an immediate boost because it takes a while before young children grow up. So this is where sustained effort over time matters. So government support in childcare and support for women will be needed. Now we have the $20,000 newborn baby bonus. It's a small gesture, a modest gesture. That may not really get people to have more children because what matters more is whether we have a conducive environment. So the government will have to make a bigger effort in housing and other social policies. So we will need to import workers to help. People are having fewer children. And I would like to share some figures from the business sector. We know what happened in 2019. We got riots, and then we had COVID. We all know where our economy is. Now, at the Public Accounts Committee, we had this paper from the FEHT. Outsourced street cleaners. The average wage in 2019 to 2020, it was $10,900. By 2023 to 24, the average wage was $15,128. So in 5 years' time, up 40%. You see what this is about. The economy has been struggling. Grassroots workers are seeing a 40% rise in their pay. That points to a labor crunch. Last year, we started importing workers from the rest of the Greater Bay Area. That helps mitigate the labor crunch. So in 2024 to 25, the average pay for street cleaners fell by roughly $200 to $14,900. The economy is anemic. Wages are rising so fast for low-income workers. So where does that leave businesses? And we have been making this point time and again about paying imported workers based on the median pay for local workers, and that's a major obstacle. I know the government is doing much to attract talent. We now have a new scheme. Now we have seen 430,000 applications. More than 270,000 applications have been granted. Now, 180,000 people have arrived under the talent schemes. They make a major difference. 100,000 of such people are minors. Once they become permanent residents, they will contribute much to our city. The government needs to think of a way to help them find a job. And when the children of incoming talent need education, now we have seen this conversation about their eligibility for admission to local universities via HKDSC. We have to manage expectations. If we let people down, that will lead to hiccups. Now, there is also a scheme announced recently about skilled workers that covers 8 trades. The 10,000 places under the scheme should be relaxed when appropriate. These skilled workers will become our local residents. They will create more impetus for our growth. So let's make a greater effort to attract talent. Mr. Eric Kim. President, population policy is crucial to our long-term growth. I support Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion. I urge the government to face up to the problem. We need more resources. Let's plan ahead. Let's research into the issue. Our population is aging. We're short of talent. That's a double whammy. In 2039, people aged over 65 will reach more than 2.3 million. Our workforce is shrinking. By 2039, we will be short of 200,000 workers. Over the past 1 year, we brought in 30,000 imported workers for 26 posts. Still, we have yet to fill the gap in construction, F&B, and elderly care sectors. GBA cities are competing for talent. In light of that, we will need a policy on population that shows foresight. In Hong Kong, there is no statutory retirement age. Many businesses adopt 60 years old as the retirement age. For female workers, the retirement age, de facto retirement age is 55. Our country is trying to raise the retirement age. So for us in Hong Kong, let's explore legislation as a way to raise the retirement age to 65 or above. That will help address our labor crunch. We're in the age of big data. In light of that, we should be dynamically analyzing our labor crunch. For construction, F&B, and elderly care, where our labor crunch is more than 15%, we should establish a mechanism with the mainland. We should fast-track applications for imported labor. And let's also learn from the labor import scheme of Singapore. We balance the interests of the trade. In that context, we should also make a greater effort to bring in the workers we need. And we should rethink this requirement about paying imported workers based on the median wage of local workers. Let's have some minimum protection for the pay of low-labor imported workers, but we should relax the rule about paying them based on the median wage of local workers. We need population for our future development. Our median age is 46 years old. Let's look at other places. In the US, 38 years old. Singapore, 37 years old. India, 28 years old. Population aging is inevitable. And now we have the Northern Metropolis project coming up. We need a youthful population. As we encourage people to seek elderly care in the mainland, we should bring in more youthful population so that we can have more than 9 million people by 2050. Let's bring in more young people so that we will see greater vitality in Hong Kong, and that will make us more competitive. We have to plan if we want to succeed. So we should elevate population policy to a strategic level. We should be regularly releasing reports on talent index. We should develop policies that will meet our medium to long-term needs. And let's have ecosystems that meet industry needs. I so submit I support the motion and all amendments. Dr. Junius Ho. Do we set up a top-level dedicated structure? I think that's beside the point. Of course, I support it. Having a task force matters, but we already have the power. All that it takes is adjustments to the immigration ordinance and our policies. And we have so many bureaus. We have very capable people in those bureaus. And why have more overlapping structures? We already have the talent. It's simply about who the decision maker is. Decision is what matters. An 8-point plan just came out. Shorter meetings, shorter speeches, fewer meetings. You see, action without results. There are only two things we have to do. One, adjusting our labor policy. There are 220,000 Filipino domestic helpers in Hong Kong, 190,000 Indonesian domestic helpers. Altogether, more than 400,000 foreign domestic helpers. They are paid $4,500 per month. You do the math, so that's $2 billion per month, and over a year, that's $20 billion. That's money going out. But what benefits do we get? I see none. Sure, having a domestic helper means local women can go to work. That's true, but my point is, let's make a change of 15 to 20% to our 400,000 foreign domestic helpers. Let's bring in mainland domestic helpers instead. Many Filipino domestic helpers have university degrees. But those workers earn much more in Hong Kong than in their home country. So even degree holders, even people with a master's degree decide to come here and work as domestic helpers. And then you look at the mainland, there are tier 3, tier 4 cities. Young people from those people are jumping to come to Hong Kong. Those are university graduates. Every year, our country turns out 10 million university graduates. The mainland's youth unemployment rate has been trending up in recent years. So let's not let our benefits flow elsewhere. We have been in control over the years. But then we have this reverse discrimination. We discriminate against our compatriots from the mainland. We don't let them in. Now we let the top talent in. So at the grassroots level, at the more junior level, what's wrong with bringing in mainland workers at the junior level? I doubt that will disrupt Hong Kong's. You just need a bureau director to fix the problem. You don't need a top-level dedicated structure. There are 30 people on the executive council. They can make the calls. It's simply a decision. Let in the mainland workers. It's just one decision. Otherwise, you can have any number of top-level structures you want, and they will do nothing. What matters is the decision maker. You make that decision. You take responsibility for that, and that will do it.
我發言係支持盧
Dr. David Lam. Thank you, President. I speak in support of Dr. Lo's motion and all of the amendments. All countries in the world are faced with aging population, low birth rate, and declining labor force participation rate. Given the increasing number of elderly, they are suffering from more and more chronic illnesses such as cardiac arrest, strokes, and so on and so forth. Take stroke as an example. There was a person who lost their ability to work because of it. Stroke is not just about a person because his family members have to take care of him. We lost a worker and we have an extra person who needs to be taken care of. Family members become carers of that person. We lost productivity in our society. For the worker himself and their family members, I went to a symposium earlier on. When a person cannot take care of themselves, it takes only 2 years until their death. In China, it's 7 years. What does it mean? It means that we spent threefold in times to take care of people in need. We lose out on 5 years of labor participation. What is the difference? Well, we have to have a comprehensive rehabilitation services. A stroke person needs to undergo treatment for years. Given today's technology, in order for a stroke patient to recover is possible. However, after a patient has been discharged, after they have arrived home, they have to look at which institutions they should go to and who will take them to those places to receive treatment. Many of them opt to receive treatment at hospitals. Carers need to work themselves and they have to spend time to take care of the patients and take them to, say, speech therapy and physiotherapy. Many people don't know what support they get in the community. Should they seek help from the day rehabilitation center or the district health centers, or rather the outpatient clinics at the hospital authority? The supplementary medical professionals bill is about to be passed. Can they provide the service to our patients? Can the district health centers offer a treatment by case managers who are nurses so that we can formulate concrete treatment plans for patients so that they can receive treatment from, say, physiotherapist? Should the district health centers hire their own therapist to take care of the patients? I think that we need to have enough day centers at various districts to combine treatment and rehabilitation, to unleash the labor force from the carers so that carers can pick their patients up after they get off work. If we hospitalize these patients, then we will see an even more serious manpower crunch in the healthcare sector. We have great speech therapists, physiotherapists, and many medical professionals. I don't even know which bureau is responsible for this. We must also have regards to patients and elderly when we devise our population policy. I so submit, Mr. Sunny Tank. Thank you, President. In January, Secretary for Labor and Welfare, when he responded to members' questions in this council, said that we need a comprehensive planning on infrastructures, economy, education, training, youth development, housing, healthcare, so on and so forth, to cope with the challenges brought by demographic changes. The baby boom era after the war have supplied labor force to our society. In 1964, the number of primary school students account for 40% of the population. However, in 2024, that account for only 10%. It is projected that in the coming 10 years, the school-aged children and the working people's ratio will continue to drop. Our elderly percentage is higher than that of Singapore and Shenzhen. Our birth rate is low and we have an aging population. We should not just rely on local population. We should pay attention to Singapore. The ratio of people aged between 15 and 59 is similar to ours. However, according to their statistics, in 2022, they have 1.86 million foreign residents in their country that account for 23% of their population. We held an event last year. We have brands from Cambodia, and their entrepreneur choose to relocate to Hong Kong. When they establish a presence here, they have to hire people, they have to engage local production services and professional services, and these entrepreneurs and employees work here and live here. If we attract the right talents, it will create job opportunities in our society. So I have three suggestions. First, we have to attract young talents in dovetailing with the development of the 8 centers. Our up, mid, and downstream of the textile industries is in line with our 8 centers positioning. According to our understanding, our labor emission schemes does not set a target on the age of imported talents. I think that we should set such an indicator to solve the low birth rate issue. Second, we have to look into the manpower demand of various industries. At different stages of development, we need different level of workforce. after having a concrete grasp of the labor demand, we can attract talents in a more targeted manner to tie in with our needs so that we can plan ahead and consolidate our positions as the 8 centers. Third, we must consolidate and enhance our strengths. Hong Kong is one of the top 3 international financial centers, along with London and New York. We have to enhance our strengths as an international city. We have many halal-friendly restaurants and shops. More than 90% of talents who come under TTPS are from the mainland. In order for us to become an international hub for high-caliber talents, we need international talents and bilingual people. We need to be more inclusive so that we can attract people from the Belt and Road countries. We need to build more infrastructures and enhance our city so that foreign workers will settle here. I hope that the government will establish the goal and devise a comprehensive policy. Mr. Benson Look. Thank you. I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for moving the motion on establishing a top-level dedicated structure to devise a population policy, and also thank the other 2 members for moving the motion. Last year, President Xi Jinping said in the 求是 magazine that we should focus on high-quality population growth to support our rejuvenation of the nation. We have to enhance the quality of our people. We have to enhance birth rate and upsize our population and enhance labor force. Our birth rate is one of the lowest in the world. Many kindergartens and primary schools cannot enroll enough students. I said before that if the situation continues in 10 years' time, the labor force will drop to a worrying level, and that will affect our productivity and development of our economy and society. So the consequences can be dire. The administration has taken on board the suggestion by rolling out the newborn baby bonus scheme of $20,000 and raise the tax deduction ceilings for families. We had 37,000 people born last year, and that will boost our productivity. I hope that the administration will face the challenges squarely and devise a long-term policy on population. I have 3 suggestions. First, since 2015, the government has published the population policy strategies and initiatives. Since then, they have not conducted any further study. However, the demographic changes have been significant since the COVID. Given the aging population and low birth rate, many immigrants come to settle here, and as a result, it has an impact on the healthcare, housing, and education demand. So, apart from manpower projection, the government have to devise a comprehensive and regular population and labor force strategy. We have to have a top-level dedicated structure. Second, the administration has to review the details and thresholds of various talent admission schemes. We have to look into the effectiveness of the schemes to make sure that these schemes actually bring about consumption and tax revenues to our government. Apart from talents, I think that the administration can relax the restrictions of foreign talents entering into the mainland. We should allow multi-entry visas for foreign talents who live in Hong Kong. We should talk to the mainland authorities to facilitate foreign talents who ordinarily reside in Hong Kong to go to the mainland and the Greater Bay Area for research and academic exchanges. Third, now we have to spend $6 million to raise a child. We have to offer economic support to parents. I think that we should regularize the newborn baby bonus scheme, and for families with children aged between 0 and 6, we should increase their tax deductions. The wages of foreign domestic helpers should also be eligible for tax deductions. There should be a tiered progressive tax arrangements for families. Take South Korea as an example. For families with 2 children, the government issue a multi-children happiness cards that offer discounts on various transport. We have to maintain our size of population in order to modernize our city. So submit.
Dr. So Cheng-Wing. Thank you, President. We are faced with unprecedented challenges in terms of population. We need to move from quantitative change to a qualitative change. We have a 0.8 fertility rate. That is worrying. We are also faced with wastage in labor force. We will see the elderly persons taking up 24% of the total population. It is indeed alarming. We need to restore a proper demographic structure as soon as possible. I very much agree with what Dr. Lo Wai-kwok and the other members said in their motion and amendments. According to recent figures of the Federation of Women, as high as 72% of the respondents weren't willing to give birth to children. And it is said the cost of rearing a child is as high as $6 million. It is also considered that there has not been adequate support from the government for childbearing. So we need to tackle the root cause of the problem. The government has promulgated a number of measures to encourage childbearing, including the 20,000 newborn baby bonus, priority allocation of public housing, or priority purchase of subsidized housing. There are also other childcare support measures, but the policy is fragmented. There is inadequate economic incentive. How can we respond to the needs of the public and rationalize the various measures so that we have short, medium, long-term population policies so that we can tackle the root cause of the problem, so that we can meet not only short-term needs but also long-term needs of society? This is the essence of the motion debate today. I have some suggestions. One, we should have a committee led by the chief executive that will provide strategic policy making, formulating a long-term vision for population policy that will take into account various factors, including demographic changes, industrial developments, devise proper population policy, breaking through the barriers between departments, and have measures that cover a number of areas so that they can all work together to encourage childbearing. We should also allay the concerns of the public in relation to childbearing. We should be comprehensive in such work. We should provide support in finance, housing, healthcare, etc. We should also have comprehensive measures. We need to gauge the demand for childcare services and provide adequate childcare services. We should also find out more about the concerns of parents in relation to education. and promulgate appropriate measures to facilitate support being provided in the relevant areas so that citizens can actually feel the benefits brought about by such measures. The government should also have real-time tracking of the latest trends. We should also find out more about the changes in living patterns with more people going to the mainland for work or consumption. It is only with forward-looking planning that we can ensure long-term effectiveness of measures. We also need to ensure the demographic changes are of quality. We need to recruit talents, especially young talents, to Hong Kong. We need to continuously enhance our labor importation policy for the development of Hong Kong. I so submit. Mr. Kenneth Lau. President, we are faced with significant challenges: low fertility rate, aging population, and a declining labor force participation rate. We will have 8.19 million population in 2046, and we have the elderly persons accounting for about 1/3 of the population, and we will have the labor force participation rate decline to 52%, and we have a manpower gap in 2028 of 180,000. We have skilled workers accounting for 1/3 of that manpower shortage. I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for proposing the relevant motion for our discussions. And according to the 2023 manpower projections, by 2028 for the 8 centrist industries, for INT, International Aviation Hub, International Trade Center, and International Maritime Center, we will have a 10,000 manpower gap. For INT in particular, we will be short 20,000 talents. We need to be the connector between the mainland and the world. We cannot be bogged down by the manpower shortage. We need to make sure we meet the demand in public services in the relevant areas. In 2002 and 2007, we had the Task Force on Population Policy and the Steering Committee on Population Policy set up. And it is said later that we should have a high-level body for human resources planning of Hong Kong. So in 2018, we had the HRPC set up that is chaired by the Chief Secretary for Administration. The Commission discussed a number of issues that would help tackle demographic challenges, but it is said that they focus mainly on training-related issues. Say, for the first meeting of the Commission this year, the Talent Engage reported the latest manpower situation. It does not have much to do with population policy. We need to cover other areas such as housing, education, and recruitment of talents. We need to have long-term policies to facilitate interdepartmental coordination. We need long-term planning, and we need to have a commissioner for population policy to formulate a comprehensive blueprint for population policy and coordinate various departments' efforts. We need to have a body that is of larger scale than HRPC. We need to have a diversified membership so that we can get suggestions in different areas. Apart from attracting and retaining talents and providing training services in the medium and long term, we need to boost fertility rate to resolve the problem of a low fertility rate. We already have a number of measures from the government to encourage childbirth. We have the government having the newborn baby bonus and strengthening childcare support services. But more importantly, we need to create a favorable environment. For 14 consecutive years, Hong Kong has been the city that has the highest property prices. One would need to not spend on anything for 16.7 years in order to purchase property. With skyrocketing property prices, people cannot purchase property. But then with declining property prices, people wouldn't want to purchase property. So without property, people don't want to bear children. So I think we need to have mortgage available for first-time home buyers so that young families can purchase their first property. We need to make sure we have a good population policy for development of society. We need a top-level structure dedicated to devising a population policy so as to promote short, medium, and long-term population policies. I so submit speaking in support of the motion. Dr. Dennis Lam. President, I thank Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for proposing the motion. We have a 0.8 fertility rate. It is the lowest in the world. But we have the longest lifespan in the world. We are faced with significant demographic challenges. We need to do something about our demographic structure to make it younger. Chief Executive said last year that we need to have a 10 million population in order to be sustainable. And I actually said before in the National People's Congress and the PA consultation sessions that we need to have a 10 million population, and I thank the chief executive for siding with me. And in 2000, Singapore only had a 4 million population. Now they have 6 million in population. This is a growth of 2 million. And in the same period, we only had a population growth of 900,000. We are far behind Singapore in population growth. With lackluster growth in population, we cannot move fast. We can see in Shenzhen, they have a population of 20 million. And it is only with that population we can be sustainable. In order to maintain competitiveness, we need to have a 10 million population to sustain the growth of the metropolis. We are to become an international hub for high caliber talents. We should actively recruit talents in INT and other specialty fields. Mr. Kenneth Leung talked about that we should have ongoing and targeted research on and deployment for Hong Kong's population development and setting a total population target. Ms. Nixie Lam talked about we need to have policies that would encourage childbearing. In order for us to have a 10 million population, we need to have forward-looking plans in various areas to make sure we can account for the relevant policies, so that talents would want to settle in Hong Kong, and this will ensure the competitiveness of Hong Kong. Right now, the government has suffered a fiscal deficit mainly because we have low land sale revenue. We have developers less incentivized to bid for land. And in 2024, we have 11,000 property transactions that have owners' names being in Putonghua pronunciation, and the amount involved is $130 billion. And I think with the removal of demand-side management measures, it has helped encourage more people to purchase property. And with such a significant amount of property transactions, we should see a boost in land sale revenue that comes along with the increase in population. We need to encourage economic growth in various areas. We need to form an international platform so that we can be a center for R&D, for economic growth. To increase our competitiveness, we need to have more talents and entrepreneurs to inject vitality into Hong Kong so that we can be an R&D center, especially in fintech, biotech, and research and development. This in turn should boost tax revenues of Hong Kong, and we can achieve a fiscal balance or even a fiscal surplus in future. I so submit speaking in support of the motion and amendments. Ms. LEUNG.
Thank you, President. I'm grateful to Dr. Lo Wai-kwok for his motion on setting up this top-level structure on population policy. I also thank the other members for their amendments. So what's the goal of a population policy? We want the government to promote population growth to a desirable level through policy. We want the best balance between population and resources so that everyone gets the quality of life they want. And that means population policy has to do with people's sense of gain and sense of well-being. Our fertility rate have been low, our population is aging, we have a labor crunch. Over the years, the government has been following population policy for a long time. Back in the 1970s and 80s, the message from the government was that 2 kids is all you need. There were people with a family of 7 to 9 children, but now the birth rate has plunged. And now the government has launched pronatalist policies. That's to encourage childbearing. But that will take time before the effect comes through. But we have to fix the labor crunch here and now. What do we do? Here are my ideas. Let's make good use of our local talent. Getting more women to work, that helps. We should also promote the silver economy. Seniors have their own areas of specialty or expertise. Can we leverage their expertise? Can we get them to work instead of thinking about moving them to a new position? Now I turn to our talent, how we nurture talent. Can we have dual-track pathways with academic learning and vocational skills? I want to focus on vocational education. The vocational pathway is still very much secondary. It's playing second fiddle to our DSE pathway. We're now in the era of artificial intelligence. I have spoken on this before. In the AI era, there are huge changes to administrative tasks and also jobs in the tertiary and quaternary sectors. Our economy is changing. What do we need for the future? How do we train up the specialists we need? If we rely on the DSE alone in training up talent, what do we do about people who are weaker on the humanities, but maybe they can work in AI, and that warrants reconsideration? Now I turn to attracting talent. Do we have a holistic approach to housing, education, and resources in general? It's a broad topic. I thank Dr. Lo for his motion so that we can discuss the matter. It's a wide-ranging subject. You have healthcare, education, housing, everything falls under this topic of population. And then you also have the economy, manpower, labor, training, everything. Many bureaus are actually involved in the population policy. We used to have the steering committee on population policy. It was chaired by the chief secretary for administration. And we also have this Office for Education, Talent, and Technology, also chaired by the chief secretary. We are grateful to the chief secretary for taking forward the work. Actually, you can bring together everything: education, talent, technology, and also human resources. Let's bring everything together so that we can pursue more systematic policies, and that's how we can stay competitive and we move forward as Seoul Summit. Thank you. Mr. Paul Tse. President, we have been here before. We discussed similar topics before. Back in 2015, we still had the steering committee on population policy. There was a report that came out. The report was short. Most of the points made by members today can be found in the report back then, with the exception of rehabilitation policy mentioned by Dr. David Lam and the rather new idea from Dr. Junior's home that is bringing in mainland domestic helpers. Other than that, most points were covered in that report. The chief secretary back then was Mrs. Carrie Lam. She was proposing sustained effort. Every policy bureau should consider population as part of their goal in their work. The question is, how do we keep the work going over time? The Audit Commission has looked at the work and they keep doing the audit and we keep updating the work. Back then, there was an omission, or maybe something wasn't a problem back then. At that point, our economy was in a better position. We did not have such a huge deficit back in 2015. Hong Kong has seen waves of immigration. In the past, people come and go. Back then, there was no such a net outflow of people that we saw for the past few years. I agree with other members on population training, bringing in talent. I agree with other members. Everything costs money and takes time to make a difference. So what do we do in the short term? The most straightforward option is to do something about the people who have left. Let's find a way to bring them back. And for the people who wish to leave but who are still here, can we keep them here? Little has been said about them. Many measures proposed cost money. Let's look at the creative people, the middle class. They contributed to the $1 trillion we once sat on. They have a track record. Why not consider them? Mrs. Regina Ip slammed the UK government for going back on their word. That's true. But let's be pragmatic. How do we fix the problem? The UK is trying to lengthen the stay required for people to gain citizenship. Other countries, the US and European countries, are also becoming more anti-immigrant, and now you also see Harvard refugees. It's a good time for us to bring back Hong Kong people who have left our city. Now, there are some political issues, as Mr. Ronnie Tong said, that he expressed concerns that those people coming back may stir up trouble and we have to be on guard. And Mr. Ronnie Tong is a shining example. He used to be a founding member of the Civic Party. Now he's an EXCO member. Once people see the big picture, they turn to the other side, they see reason. So it's about getting people to come back. You don't need investment to do it. We just have to be more flexible. Let's acknowledge the past contributions of those people, welcome them back. Let's leverage their skills and energy so that they can contribute to our economy. Instead of importing outside talent, let's bring them back. You don't get taken seriously after you leave your hometown, and then some people realize how good Hong Kong is after leaving Hong Kong. So let's loosen up a bit, let's have more moderate policies, and then people who have left Hong Kong may want to come back and they can contribute to Hong Kong. Thank you, President.
Does any other member wish to speak? Dr. Lo Wai-kwok, you may now speak on the amendments. President, the amendments moved by Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie Lam has enriched my original motion. I thank them for that. Mr. Kenneth LEUNG said that high-quality development can inject impetus into our city and is closely related to long-term prosperity and stability of Hong Kong. It is also relevant to national rejuvenation. I agree with that. Mr. LEUNG said that we should establish a top-level dedicated structure to devise a targeted population policy. He attaches importance to a population target. I think that various sectors and the government should discuss this topic so that we can reach a consensus. We share the same goal. We want to devise a forward-looking scientific population blueprint. Ms. Nixie Lam's amendment says that in order for us to grow our population, we have to offer targeted support measures and to facilitate the development of assisted reproductive technology and services. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, we have to refine our policies to promote fertility, to promote population growth. Ms. Nixie Lam said that we should facilitate assisted reproductive technology and services. I support it. As I said in the subcommittee on population meeting, we have around 30,000 baby borns every year. About 10 years ago, we have 50 to 60,000 babies born each year. Given the aging population and low birth rate, we need to have more measures to support childbearing. In order to have harmony in our families and to encourage young families to have one or two more babies, we have to promote a family-friendly culture and to facilitate education among children through various strategies, measures, and policies. We have to encourage young people to nurture the next generation without any concern. President, the amendments moved by Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie Lam has complemented the original motion. I hope that the members will support them. I so submit.
Undersecretary for Education. President, I thank Dr. LO Wai-kwok for his motion, Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie Lam for their respective amendments, and the 39 members who have spoken on population policy. They have shared their ideas. They also brought up many points about education. Education is crucial for nurturing talent. The primary function of education is shaping minds by cultivating virtues. In fostering the integrated development of education, technology, and talent, the government remains alert to the big picture and the long-term needs as it plans the way forward for education to nurture and attract high-caliber talent. This is to create strong impetus for Hong Kong's growth. We seek to support our country's 14th five-year plan by turning Hong Kong into an international innovation and technology center while developing new quality productive forces and promoting sustainable economic growth. To this end, Hong Kong needs to nurture enough talent in I&T. On this front, the government consistently presses ahead with promoting STEAM education at primary and secondary schools. There are ongoing efforts to enhance and update the curriculum of basic subjects such as mathematics, information technology, and science at primary and secondary schools. We also encourage students to pursue science, innovation, and technology in an effort to expand our pool of R&D and I&T talent. For tertiary education, the government's goal is to have 35% of the students enrolled in UGC-funded universities pursue STEAM disciplines in the 2026-27 academic year. Overall, we aim at having 60% of students in programs related to the 8 centers under the National 14th Five-Year Plan. The government has given UGC-funded universities express directions for the 2025-28 triennium. These universities will run more relevant programs to implement our country's strategy of pursuing high-quality development in education. Meanwhile, we want to nurture more top-notch talent with applied skills. This is to meet the keen demand for manpower with applied knowledge and skills from Hong Kong and our country. We also want to provide quality and diversified study pathways with multiple entry and exit points for young people with different aspirations and strengths. To these ends, the government pursues the strategy of fostering industry-institution collaboration and diversified development. At various levels, it takes a multi-pronged approach through the promotion of vocational professional education and training. Now, we want people to succeed wherever they are, so the government actively promotes the development of universities of applied and sciences in Hong Kong. Now, in February 2024, the government worked with the HKCA AVQ and promoted the guidelines on developing applied degree programs to help USS and other institutions to develop applied degree programs that focus on applied skills and blend theory with practice. We want to encourage tertiary institutions to follow the guidelines by developing more applied degree programs related to the 8 centers. To this end, the government also funds the students under the study subsidy scheme for designated profession sectors to pursue specified self-financing degrees and sub-degrees that meet Hong Kong's socio-economic needs. On top of this, extra subsidies are available under the SSSDP for students of applied degree programs to further the development of such degree programs. The Education Bureau also attaches great importance to life planning education. The ADB takes various measures to give schools greater support for students to find out their areas of interest, strengths, and directions, and become informed about the workplace through relevant learning activities. We launched the Business School Partnership Program so that students get to venture outside their classrooms for diversified career exploration activities. That's to prepare students for the labor market. In the 2022-23 school year, the ADB further promoted the cooperation between businesses and schools by launching the BSPP 2.0 with more business partners covering more industries, including the emerging industries. That's to widen students' exposure and enhance life planning. The Education Bureau is committed to enhancing the quality of education and providing students with diversified learning opportunities in order to foster their whole person development. We thank Mr. LEUNG, Kenneth LEUNG, for his amendment, and we also thank the members who have spoken. We seek to support our country's national strategy, and we look forward to working together with members to leverage the edge of one country, two systems to train up the talent our country needs as so submit. Thank you, President.
Secretary for Labor and Welfare. I would like to thank members for their valuable views on the motion. I will provide a response on the overall policy of the government and brief members on plans of the LWB in the areas of manpower development and elderly care services. The government needs to carry out planning work in various policy areas to basically what members said we need to have fertility rate boosted and we should attract more talents. And that would require coordination of different departments. We need to see what we need in terms of resource allocation. We also need interdepartmental coordination. As said in my opening remarks, we have the chief executive and senior government officials providing high-level steering, including the steering committee on integration of national development. And the chief secretary for administration also chairs the Human Resources Planning Commission. They will try to attract talents in specific areas. As Mr. Kenneth said, in fact, the Chief Secretary for Administration formulates macro plans with mainland and Macau authorities to have coordinated development of manpower in the Greater Bay Area. We also have the Deputy Chief Secretary chairing the working group on promoting silver economy. Last month, they have announced a series of interdepartmental measures that are led by the Deputy Chief Secretary that would include priority allocation of flats, enhanced childcare support, increased tax concessions, and the newborn baby bonus. So these are some examples of the government's high-level steering or coordination mechanism. We consider the existing approach flexible and effective, and there is no need to set up a separate body for the work on population policy. In the face of the challenges posed by an aging population and manpower shortage, we need to continuously grow the local talent pool. And for the portfolio of the LWB, we are formulating training and support policies for talents. After the pandemic, we have continued to see the economy grow. Although the unemployment rate rose slightly in the last quarter, there is still tight manpower in the market. We have recently promulgated a pilot scheme for re-employment allowance to promote the employment of the middle-aged and senior citizens. So this is, as Ms. Maggie Chan suggested, we are trying to tap into potential labor force. But as what Mr. Shu Ka-fai said, he said that the increase in pay may not necessarily mean the increase in employment, but we would say this increase in pay is just part of the phenomenon. Dr. Wendy Hong talked about there is a higher labor force participation rate elsewhere, such as in Japan. It is because, say, in Japan, they have a significant primary sector. So we cannot achieve a labor force participation rate as high for the elderly persons in Hong Kong. So in future, we are trying to support the elderly persons. We are trying to focus on attracting talents. We have 310,000 applications approved under the Top Talent Pass scheme, and we already have 208,000 talents having arrived in Hong Kong. Some have brought along their families. It has reversed the declining trend of the labor force during the pandemic. The median age of successful applicants of the Top Talent Pass scheme is 35. So it is, as Mr. Chen Kim-po suggested, we are attracting young talents. And as said, a wife of an actor is going to give birth at 58, so I guess we have much chance of having an increased fertility rate. Mr. Chan Chun-ying was hoping that we could have more data on the renewal rate of talents under the Top Talent Pass scheme, and we are collecting the relevant data, and we will analyze the data and formulate a way forward. But let me say this, the KPIs have changed. We have no longer the basis in numbers. We are now setting the indicators as the percentage of renewal. The LWB has been promulgating innovative measures on admission of talents, and we will continue to make sure the professionals attracted will be for the benefit of the AIDS Center positioning. Mr. Martin Liao talked about some policies, and in fact, starting from 30th of June this year, For our admission policies for mainland talents and professionals, we will have new channels for skilled talents who do not have degrees to come to Hong Kong to join 8 skilled trades that have an acute manpower shortage. And we also have the Committee on Education, Technology and Talents continuing to work with us to lead the development of Hong Kong. We are faced with difficulties in elderly care with an aging population. So we will make sure we will continue to provide adequate support for elderly persons. We launched the residential care services scheme in Guangdong to provide more options for elderly persons. For Mr. Jimmy Ng's example, I would say this: under the Guangdong scheme, there are very large spaces available for elderly persons, which is not seen in Hong Kong. We will also support aging in place of elderly persons in Hong Kong. With the leadership of the Chief Executive and senior government officials, we will continue to closely monitor the situation of local population and review and enhance measures if necessary. I again thank members for their views on population policy and planning.
I now call upon Mr. Kenneth LEUNG to move an amendment. President, I move my amendment. I propose the question to you that Mr. Kenneth LEUNG's amendment be passed. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the 2 groups of members present. I declare the amendment passed. Ms. Nixie Lam, as the previous amendment has been passed, you may move your further amendment. President, I move my further amendment. I propose the question to you that Ms. Nixie Lam's further amendment be passed. Will those in favor please raise their hands? Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the 2 groups of members present. I declare the amendment passed. Dr. Lo Wai-kwok, you still have 1 minute 2 seconds to reply, then the debate will come to a close. Dr. Lo Wai-kwok. President, there are a total of 38 members who have spoken on my motion, including Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie Lam. I thank them for giving their views on population policy. The SAR government, in terms of their population policies and measures, are not forward-looking enough. We don't have a top-level dedicated structure to coordinate and formulate these scientific policies. I hope that this policy will enhance the awareness of the people on our population challenges, so that our economy and society can continue to develop and prosper. I hope that members will support my motion. I now put the question to you that Dr. Lo Wai-kwok's motion as amended by Mr. Kenneth LEUNG and Ms. Nixie Lam be passed. For those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the 2 groups of members present. I declare the motion as amended passed. I now adjourn the meeting. The next meeting will resume at 11 a.m. on the 11th of June, Wednesday. Thank you.